Chapter 38-26. If Xueming brought a group of experts with him, the two of them wouldn't be able to do anything. Unless Ling Yue also brought a group of experts from the elf clan, then their plan and the matter of the life spirit origin stone would be exposed. So, it's about the next step of the plan. It's the most important. Over the years I have refined a secret treasure. With my special physique, I can move the entire Blood God Fruit tree away without letting the energy of the Blood God Fruit disappear. Then, I can move the Blood God Fruit tree to a place where experts of the Divine Emperor realm cannot enter. In this way, even if Xueming can bring people with him, he can only bring people of the Quasi-Emperor realm. For us, the Quasi-Emperor realm is not a problem. Ling Yue also explained the next step of the plan. Lu Ming couldn't help but exclaim in admiration. Ling Yue's plan was so meticulous that she had calculated every step. It could be said to be flawless. It could be seen that Ling Yue had been planning to deal with Xueming for a long time. This woman was very scary. Lu Ming secretly warned himself in his heart that he had to be careful when cooperating with this woman. If he was careless, he would be swallowed whole by her. Where is the location of the Blood God Fruit? Also, where do you want to transplant the Blood God Fruit tree? Lu Ming asked. The Blood God Fruit is in the Blood Shadow Fiend land, and the best place to transplant it is in the Pangshin Ruins. The Pangshin Ruins is a ruin left behind by a powerful force in the ancient times. In this ruin, there is an incomparably powerful array formation. Existences above the Divine Emperor realm cannot enter, or else they will be attacked by the Great Array formation. Ling Yue said. Lu Ming nodded. In fact, many forces would have similar formations. Experts who had reached a certain level of cultivation would not be able to enter. Only the weak could enter. This was also a form of protection for their own forces. What if an expert suddenly attacked from the inside? Lu Ming chatted with Ling Yue for a while. After that, Lu Ming went through the plan in his mind and found that it was indeed feasible. Xueming could not resist the temptation of the Blood God Fruit. His main body would come out and snatch the Blood God Fruit. That would be their chance. Alright, the plan is set. Let's go to the Blood Shadow Fiend land and transplant the Blood God Fruit tree. Lu Ming said. Then the two of them set off for the Blood Shadow Demonic land. The Blood Shadow Demonic land was actually not very far from the territory controlled by the Blood Demon tribe. However, it was a long distance away from the territory controlled by the Multi-Hand race. Even if there were wormholes, there were still some roads that weren't connected by wormholes. It took the two of them half a month to reach the Blood Shadow Demonic land. The Blood Shadow Demonic land was an extremely special place. In the starry sky there were numerous continents floating. The number of these continents was shocking, and it was impossible to see the end of them. Within the endless mainland, there was a blood chi that shrouded the entire place, making it look hazy. According to legends, the Blood Shadow Demonic land was a huge planet in the distant past. This planet wasn't an ordinary one. It was similar to the Dragon Clan's mother planet. Although it wasn't as big as the Dragon Clan's mother planet, it wasn't too far off. In the primitive universe, there were all kinds of celestial bodies that could give birth to living beings. There were all kinds of small kiliocosms and medium kiliocosms. There were also floating mountains, floating islands, and floating continents in the universe. Of course, the most common celestial body was still the planet. There were many types of planets. For example, planets that could give birth to life, planets that could mine ores, or planets that could grow divine medicines. There were also some desolate planets. As for the planets of life, they were also divided into 3, 6, and 9 grades. Most of the planets that Lu Ming had seen were the most ordinary ones. There were also high-level planets and superplanets. The highest level was the mother planet of the various races. It was born at the beginning of the universe and had given birth to primordial gods, such as the Dragon Clan's mother planet. As for the Blood Shadow Demonic land at the beginning, it was a superplanet. Later on, a super war broke out and this superplanet was destroyed, forming the Blood Shadow Demonic land. Legend has it that a powerful existence fell in the Blood Shadow Demonic land. His blood scattered everywhere, and his blood aura didn't dissipate for countless years, forming the Blood Shadow Demonic land. Furthermore, because of this blood aura, many evil creatures were born inside. Be careful when you enter later. Ling Yue reminded. Lu Ming nodded. The two of them flew into the Blood Shadow Demonic land like two streaks of light. As soon as they entered the Blood Shadow Demonic land, the blood mist rushed towards the two of them. It was extremely corrosive, and Ling Yue circulated her divine power to block it. As for Lu Ming, he naturally didn't need to circulate his divine power. His skin was a powerful defensive force that blocked the corrosion of the blood mist. Kill, kill, kill. Moreover, waves of roars came out from the blood mist. It was like a demonic sound that shook one's soul. Those with weak willpower would be affected by this demonic sound, causing them to go crazy and go berserk. However, Lu Ming and Ling Yue were both extraordinary people. Their willpower was firm, so this bit of demonic sound was nothing to them. Ling Yue took out a map and looked at it. There were tens of millions of floating continents here. Without a map, finding a blood god fruit tree would be like finding a needle in a haystack. The two of them flew in the same direction. Jijiji. Suddenly strange cries could be heard. Then a large group of blood-colored birds rushed out from a continent and rushed towards Lu Ming and Ling Yue. They were like countless streaks of blood light. "Let me do it!" Ling Yue shouted. In her hand, an emerald green longbow had unknowingly appeared. Ling Yue pulled the bowstring and an emerald green arrow immediately condensed. Releasing the bowstring, the emerald green arrow flew out like a bolt of lightning. An astonishing scene appeared. The emerald green arrow flew out and continuously split apart. 1 divided into 2, 2 divided into 4, 4 divided into 8, 8 divided into 16. The speed at which it split was extremely fast. In a breath's time, the sky was filled with emerald green arrows. When the arrows approached the strange birds, the sky was filled with arrows. It was unknown how many there were. Puff, puff, puff. The blood-colored birds that filled the sky were struck by the arrows, pierced through by the arrows and fell to the ground. In just an instant, the densely packed blood-colored birds were all killed. What a powerful method! Lu Ming exclaimed in his heart. This kind of archery skill really made people gasp in amazement. This was only Ling Yue's casual attack. If she were to seriously attack, who knew how powerful she would be? She was ranked 16th on the Quasi-Emperor Top 100 list, a proud daughter of heaven on the Pearl list. She was definitely an influential figure in the universe. Although Lu Ming had a taboo body, he didn't dare to underestimate these monsters. After the strange birds were killed, the two of them continued forward. Next, the two of them would be attacked by various strange creatures from time to time. However, these creatures weren't very strong and were easily killed by the two of them. The two of them took turns to attack and quickly flew over 100 continents. Chapter 38:27. The two continued to fly towards the location of the blood god fruit tree. Boom. Suddenly, a rumbling sound came from not far ahead. Rays of divine light burst forth, accompanied by strange roars. In front, there was a group of people wearing blood-red robes, surrounding and killing a group of blood-red tiger-like creatures. And this group of blood-red tigers was surrounding a blood-red flower. Hurry up and kill these beasts. We can't let these beasts destroy the blood demon flower. A youth wearing a blood-red robe with a golden skull embroidered on it gave the order. The tiger-like life forms were mostly 3rd level to 6th level Divine Lord existences. And these blood-robed people were all 7th level Divine Lord and above. Their combat strength was much stronger. Under a series of attacks, the tiger-like life forms were all slain. That youth picked the blood demon flower in joy. "Let's go," Ling Yue said. She didn't want to cause any more trouble and wanted to go around from the side. "Stop them." The two of them hadn't flown far when a cold voice sounded from the blood-robed youth. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. With a flash, more than a dozen blood-robed people surrounded Lu Ming and Ling Yue. The blood-robed youth walked over and stared at Ling Yue, completely ignoring Lu Ming. "Haha, I didn't expect to meet such a beauty in such a place. The heavens are really biased towards me, haha." The blood-robed youth laughed loudly, an evil light flashing in his eyes. Ling Yue's face darkened. Lu Ming smiled bitterly. It seemed that this fellow had taken a fancy to Ling Yue. "Scram!" Ling Yue shouted coldly. Being looked at by the blood-robed youth like this, she felt uncomfortable all over. "Oh, your temper isn't small, but I like it. You guys kill that brat and control this girl. Leave her to me to deal with." The blood-robed youth gave the order. "Brat, die for me." An 8th level Divine Lord old man held a sharp sword and stabbed at Lu Ming. The sword light was sharp and went straight for Lu Ming's glabella, wanting to kill Lu Ming in one strike. But an ordinary 8th level Divine Lord really didn't enter Lu Ming's eyes. Bang! Lu Ming moved later but arrived first. He kicked out and accurately kicked the old man's face. The old man screamed as his body flew out like a broken sack. His face was completely deformed. Everyone else was stunned. He did not expect that Lu Ming's strength was so strong, defeating an 8th level Divine Lord powerhouse in one move. "How dare you hit my men? Let's attack together and cripple this brat." The blood-robed youth roared furiously. Boom, boom. More than a dozen blood-robed men emitted powerful auras as they charged towards Lu Ming. These people, there were 7th level divine lords, and there were also 8th level and 9th level divine lords. There were even 2 quasi-emperor level figures. Lu Ming's eyes turned cold, his heart filled with killing intent. Since these people didn't know what was good for them, he didn't mind sending them on their way. However, before Lu Ming could make a move, Ling Yuwei had already made her move. An arrow suddenly flew out of Ling Yuwei's hand. This arrow seemed to have a mind of its own as it danced in the air like a bolt of lightning. Buff, buff, buff. Blood splattered in all directions. More than a dozen blood-robed men, including the blood-soaked youth, were shot at the same time. Some people were shot in the chest, some in the shoulder, and the blood-robed youth was shot in one of his eyes. However, these people did not die. Clearly Ling Yuwei had shown mercy. More than a dozen blood-robed men looked at Ling Yuwei in horror. Ling Yuwei's strength was too terrifying. More than a dozen experts, including 2 quasi-emperors, were injured in an instant. Get lost! Ling Yuwei shouted coldly. The blood-robed youth and the others hurriedly ran away in fear. You're not going to kill them? Lu Ming said. There's no deep hatred. I'll give them a chance. If there's a next time, I won't show mercy. Ling Yuwei said. Lu Ming shook his head slightly. This Ling Yuwei still had the temper of a big race's young miss. She probably didn't have much experience. If it were Lu Ming, since he had made a move, he wouldn't show mercy to avoid future troubles. However, Lu Ming wouldn't deliberately chase after her. Next, the 2 of them continued to move forward. Just like that, a few days passed and they finally approached their destination. In front of them was a huge continent. The blood mist on this continent was denser than in other places, and the creatures it nurtured were also more powerful. The 2 of them restrained their auras, avoided those creatures and arrived at a valley. In the depths of the valley, blood energy filled the air, and the situation inside could not be seen clearly. The blood god fruit tree should be in the depths of this valley. Let's go in. Ling Yuwei said. Lu Ming nodded and stepped into the valley with Ling Yuwei. Brr, brr. Suddenly, furious roars came from all directions, and the ground began to rumble. It was as if an army of thousands of men and horses were charging toward them. Countless monsters charged towards them. In the sky, a group of blood-robed people appeared. Lu Ming swept his gaze across and saw the blood-soaked youth from before. Go to hell, you 2 bastards. Those blood-soaked youths revealed ferocious expressions, their killing intent as cold as knives. Ling Yuwei's face immediately darkened. Obviously, these monsters were lured here by the blood-soaked youth and the others. Their goal was to borrow the power of the monsters to kill Lu Ming and the others. You're courting death. Ling Yuwei shouted coldly. She spared the other party's life, but the other party actually came to kill her, which made her want to kill. Buzz. The emerald green longbow reappeared, and the arrows flew out, turning into countless emerald green arrows. Immediately, a large number of monsters were killed by the arrows. In the blink of an eye, thousands of powerful monsters were killed. So strong. In the sky, the blood-robed people's expressions changed, shocked by Ling Yuwei's strength. However, they were not afraid because this time, there were god emperors following them. Swish. At this time, Lu Ming soared into the sky and rushed towards the blood-robed youth and the others. A 7th level divine lord dares to come up. You're courting death, go and kill him. The blood-robed youth shouted coldly. Immediately, a quasi-emperor stepped out, turned into a sword light and charged towards Lu Ming. In their opinion, Ling Yuwei was a quasi-emperor, so she was a great threat. As for Lu Ming, he was only a 7th level divine lord. How much of a threat could he be? A quasi-emperor was more than enough to deal with him. Boom. Lu Ming punched out, aiming at the other party's sword light. When the sword gleam collided with Lu Ming's fist, the sword gleam directly collapsed. The fist force did not stop and continued to crush the other party. The crimson-robed quasi-emperor did not even have the chance to scream. Under the crushing force of Lu Ming's fist, the crimson-robed man exploded and his body and soul were destroyed. How is this possible? The blood-robed youth and the other blood-robed people couldn't help but widen their eyes. A 7th level divine lord killed a quasi-emperor in one move. Monster, this was a peerless monster. Book Guest House Reading Website. Chapter 38-28. Boom. Lu Ming stepped in the air, reaching the same height as the blood-robed youth and the rest. He stepped forward and headed toward the blood-robed youth. He was going to kill all of them. Little boy, do you know who I am? I'm the young master of the Blood Skull Pirate Group. You dared to kill our people. We'll take revenge on you, shouted the young man in the blood-red robe. So you're from the Blood Skull Pirate Group. Lu Ming's heart stirred. He knew about the pirate group. The great desolate universe was too vast. In the boundless starry sky there were opportunities everywhere. This naturally gave birth to countless interstellar pirates and interstellar pirate groups. However, most of the interstellar pirate groups were not that strong. However, among all the interstellar pirate crews, there were some who were extremely powerful. They were one of the top 10 interstellar pirate groups. The Bloody Hole Pirate Group was one of the top 10 interstellar pirate groups. The top 10 interstellar pirate groups were extremely strong. They were as strong as some of the strongest clans in the primitive universe. It turned out that those people were from one of the top 10 interstellar pirate groups. No wonder they were so bold and ruthless. However, Lu Ming was not afraid. Of course he was not afraid. He continued to step forward, causing the void to tremble violently. The young man in the blood-red robe was furious. He shouted, "Kill that bastard." Boom. An old man next to the young man in the blood-red robe stepped forward. His chi was as deep as the sea. It moved towards Lu Ming to suppress him. At the same time, an extremely sharp sword gleam burst forth, piercing through the void and piercing toward Lu Ming's glabella. That old man was a cultivator of the first godly emperor layer. That was why the young man in the blood-red robe was so confident. However, he was just an ordinary cultivator of the first godly emperor layer. Lu Ming did not take him seriously. Lu Ming activated his battle formula and punched the old man in the blood-red robe. His fist chi was as strong as a mountain. It destroyed everything in its path. As soon as the opponent's sword light touched Lu Ming's fist strength, it violently shook and then exploded with a bang. The old man's expression changed drastically. His hands trembled rapidly and blood chi filled the air. An even more powerful sword light shot out and collided with Lu Ming's fist energy. With a boom, the old man's body trembled violently and he retreated rapidly. His body trembled and a trickle of blood seeped out of the corner of his mouth. This is impossible? The blood-robed youth's eyes widened as he shouted in disbelief. Lu Ming actually injured a divine sovereign with one punch. A mere 7th-level divine lord, how was this possible? He found it hard to believe. But the truth was right in front of him and he had no choice but to believe it. Kill. Lu Ming bellowed and punched with both fists. One fist energy after another pierced through the void toward the Blood Skull pirates. The fist energy shot out at an astonishing speed, and many of the Blood Skull pirates were reduced to ashes before they could even react. Lu Ming didn't hold back at all. When he had attacked, he had already planned to kill them all. After the fist energy filled the sky, only 3 people survived. 2 cultivators of the first godly emperor layer took the blood-robed youth and retreated hastily. However, the 2 cultivators of the first godly emperor layer had joined hands to block Lu Ming's attack, and they had both been injured. "Hurry up and run. He's a monster. Hurry up and run," shouted a big godly emperor layer cultivator. His voice was trembling and he looked terrified. However, as soon as he finished talking, an arrow streaked across the sky and shot towards him. Slash. That person didn't even have time to react before the arrow pierced through his forehead and destroyed his soul. It was Ling Yue, of course. She had killed a godly emperor with one arrow. "Let's go," shouted the remaining godly emperor layer cultivator. He was terrified and quickly retreated with the blood-robed youth. However, Lu Ming waved his hand and 3 gravity pearls flew out. A terrifying pressure enveloped the sky. The blood-robed youth couldn't resist such a terrifying gravity. He was directly crushed by the gravity and died on the spot. The godly emperor layer cultivator also vomited blood. He was severely injured. The combined force of 3 gravity orbs was simply too terrifying. You killed the young master. My Blood Skull pirate group will definitely take revenge. You just wait. Your end will be very miserable," the blood-robed elder shouted in despair. Swoosh. Lu Ming's figure was like a ghost. He appeared in front of the elder and punched him. The elder screamed and his body was torn apart. He died on the spot. The experts of the Blood Skull pirate group had been completely wiped out by Lu Ming and Ling Yue. Lu Ming stood in the sky and looked around. He found that the monsters from before had all been killed by Ling Yue. Lu Ming was shocked. Ling Yue was worthy of being ranked 16th on the top 100 quasi-emperors list. Her battle strength was terrifying. She was probably much stronger than 9 Silkworm Prince. If Lu Ming didn't rely on Qiu Qiu now, even if he used his full strength, he probably wouldn't be a match for Ling Yue. "Let's go in," Ling Yue said. Lu Ming nodded silently. The 2 of them flew into the valley. This valley was very big, very wide, and also very deep. The blood fog was very dense. The 2 of them restrained their auras and focused on their surroundings. The blood qi here was so dense that the two of them were afraid that it would give birth to very powerful monsters. However, the two of them didn't see a single monster after walking for a while. This valley was very quiet. It was too quiet. Something's wrong. It's too quiet. There's not even a trace of wind and there are no monsters. Lu Ming frowned. Indeed. Although the monsters attracted by the Blood Skull pirate group attacked us, they stopped at the entrance of the valley. They seemed to be very afraid and didn't dare to enter the valley. Ling Yue said. It seems that this valley is not simple. Lu Ming said. We're almost there. When we see the Blood God fruit tree, I'll end the battle quickly and move the seal away as soon as possible. Ling Yue said, her brows slightly furrowed. All top geniuses had extremely sharp spiritual senses, and their perception of danger was also very sharp. Ling Yue was the same as Lu Ming. She also had a bad feeling. However, they had already walked here and were about to arrive. There was no reason to retreat. The two of them continued forward. Suddenly, a strong medicinal fragrance came from ahead. We're here. It's really the Blood God fruit. Ling Yue's eyes lit up, revealing a look of pleasant surprise. Lu Ming also saw it. Not far ahead there was a small tree about 1 meter tall. It was completely blood red and filled with blood qi. Between the branches of the small tree, there was a fist-sized fruit hanging there. The fruit seemed to be condensed from endless blood, emitting a dense bloody light. Within the bloody light, there seemed to be a figure sitting cross-legged. Strangely, there was no smell of blood. Instead, there was a medicinal fragrance. Chapter 38:29. This was the Blood God fruit tree and the Blood God fruit. Let's begin. I'll seal it. You protect me. Ling Yue whispered to Lu Ming. Don't worry. Lu Ming nodded and the two of them walked towards the Blood God fruit tree. But at that moment, rustle, rustle, rustle. Suddenly a rustling sound came from the ground. Then 2 eyes that were bigger than a water jar appeared. They were blood red. Following it, the figure of an enormous creature appeared. It was a huge snake with blood-red eyes. It stared at Lu Ming and Ling Yue. CSI. The snake screamed and swam towards Lu Ming and Ling Yue. Its tongue was like a red sword, stabbing towards Ling Yue. Its tail was like a soft whip, lashing towards Lu Ming. Its aura was extremely violent and terrifying. Second layer of the Divine Emperor realm. As soon as the snake made its move, they could feel that it was a second-layer Divine Emperor realm existence. Shio. Ling Yue made her move. An emerald green arrow shot out and collided with the blood-red snake's tongue, blocking its attack. Lu Ming directly took out 3 gravity pearls. The powerful gravity enveloped the snake, slowing it down a little. Lu Ming punched the snake's tail twice in a row. Suddenly he felt a terrifying power surging towards Lu Ming. Lu Ming retreated. What a strong power. Lu Ming was shocked. It wasn't like he had never fought against cultivators of the second godly emperor layer. In Gale Galaxy, he had fought against cultivators of the second godly emperor layer. Even without Chiu and the great godly wind technique, he could still fight against ordinary cultivators of the second godly emperor layer. However, he had been pushed back just now. This huge snake's battle strength was extremely terrifying. Its strength was astonishing, far stronger than an ordinary second-layer Divine Emperor realm existence. This huge snake should be the monster guarding the Blood God fruit tree. His strength is astonishing. It needs the two of us to work together. Ling Yue said. Let's attack together. Lu Ming said as he charged towards the snake. A powerful gravitational force enveloped the serpent, causing its speed to decrease. At the same time, Lu Ming used the Great Divine Wind technique. His body was wrapped in a gale and his speed increased explosively. In an instant he approached the serpent. His palm was like a knife, and it slashed towards the serpent's neck. Lu Ming had already used the Great Divine Wind technique, and his palms were wrapped in a terrifying cutting power. However, when Lu Ming's palm cut across the snake's neck, he encountered a huge resistance. His palm cut across the snake's skin, causing a trace of blood to seep out. However, he didn't seriously injure the snake. At the same time that Lu Ming made his move, Ling Yue also made her move. Elven Royal Bow. Ling Yue shouted. Her body glowed and a huge battle bow appeared. This bow was larger than any of the bows that Ling Yue had used before. This was her origin secret technique. The bowstring vibrated and a 100-meter-long arrow shot out, piercing towards the snake's head. The arrow that Ling Yue shot out was shockingly powerful. It actually broke through the snake's defense and pierced through its body. However, it only pierced through half a meter and the rest was still blocked. Sealing arrow. Ling Yue shot out an arrow followed by another arrow. However, the second arrow was different from the first. After the second arrow was shot out, it immediately dispersed into hundreds of arrows. On each arrow, dense runes appeared. Bang, bang, bang. Hundreds of arrows all landed on the snake's body. It was like an ordinary wooden arrow hitting a rock, producing the sound of a blunt object hitting a rock. Not a single arrow broke through the snake's defense. Furthermore, all of the arrows had exploded. However, the runes and symbols on them were like countless little insects crawling onto the snake's body. In an instant, the snake's body was covered by countless runes. CSI. The snake hissed and struggled with all its might. However, its movements became slower and slower. Is this the sealing power that Ling Yue mentioned? Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. Ling Yue said that her physique was special and had a powerful sealing power. She could even seal the aura of the life spirit origin stone fragments. Combined with a secret treasure, it should be this kind of sealing power that could seal the blood god fruit's medicinal effects. It was indeed very mysterious. Under the dual effects of gravity and the seal, the snake's speed became very slow. Lu Ming and Ling Yue naturally wouldn't let go of this opportunity. Boom. Lu Ming suddenly made his move. His palm was like a rapidly spinning sharp sword, piercing towards one of the snake's eyes. Eyes were the snake's weakness. At the same time, Ling Yue's arrow also shot towards the snake's other eye. As expected, both of their attacks hit their targets. The snake's eyes exploded and blood splattered everywhere. CSI. The snake twisted its body crazily, lashing out crazily, but it did not hit Lu Ming and Ling Yue. Shwa, shwa. Lu Ming and Ling Yue's figures flashed as they continued to attack. One attack after another, they continuously attacked the snake's eye sockets. A terrifying destructive force rushed into the snake's eye sockets and broke through its body, completely destroying its brain. The snake struggled for a while before it slowly stopped moving. In the end, it collapsed to the ground without any signs of life. Whoosh whoosh. Lu Ming and Ling Yue heaved a sigh of relief. This huge snake was not easy to deal with. Its strength was shocking and its defense was even stronger. Fortunately, the two of them had worked together to take down this huge snake. If it had been alone, it would not have been so easy. Of course, Lu Ming had Qiu Qiu. If he let Qiu Qiu take action, he would be able to easily kill this big snake. However, Lu Ming did not want to expose Qiu Qiu's strength so easily. Furthermore, Lu Ming did not want to let Qiu Qiu take action unless it was necessary. In the Gale Star River, Qiu Qiu had swallowed an entire star worth of metal ore. The energy was simply too strong. Although Qiu Qiu had evolved to the second level of the Divine Emperor realm, that star had not been completely refined. During this period of time, Qiu Qiu had been quietly refining. If he were to take action, it would disturb him. Lu Ming walked over and kicked the snake's corpse to the side. Then he looked around and protected Ling Yue. Ling Yue did not delay at all. She arrived in front of the blood god fruit tree and took out a jade bottle. This jade bottle was a secret treasure that Ling Yue had spent a lot of effort to create. Combined with her sealing power, it could ensure that the blood god fruit's medicinal effects would not be lost. Without her sealing power, this secret technique alone would be useless. Ling Yue placed the jade bottle beside the blood god fruit tree, and then her body emitted a strange light. Lu Ming seemed to see countless tiny runes appear on the surface of Ling Yue's body. Then they followed Ling Yue's palm and crawled towards the blood god fruit tree. Very quickly, the blood god fruit tree was covered in tiny runes. Shwa shwa, Ling Yue's hands continued to form seals, controlling even more runes to climb towards the blood god fruit tree. Especially the blood god fruit, it was given special attention. At this moment, something unexpected happened. Chapter 38:30. Just as Ling Yue was trying her best to seal the blood god fruit tree and transplant it, a sudden change occurred. In the depths of the canyon, a dense blood energy suddenly emerged. This blood energy condensed into blood pythons that swallowed Ling Yue. These blood pythons were not real pythons, nor were they monsters born from blood energy. They were only condensed from blood energy. Lu Ming's expression changed. At this moment, Ling Yue was at a critical moment and could not be disturbed. Otherwise, not to mention the fact that the blood god fruit tree could not be successfully sealed, if it caused a tremor, the energy of those runes could destroy the blood god fruit tree. Lu Ming's figure moved and appeared in front of the blood pythons. He used the Great Divine Wind technique and slapped out with both of his palms. Immediately, a violent wind rose in all directions and a terrifying gale rushed towards the blood pythons. A series of explosions rang out, and the blood pythons were all blocked. However, as the blood energy churned, more blood pythons condensed and pounced towards Lu Ming. There were even more of them. Lu Ming used the gravity orb to resist with all his might, but the blood energy was getting denser and denser. The number of blood pythons that were condensed also increased, and their power also increased. Lu Ming was gradually losing his strength. At this time, the blood god fruit tree was still not successfully sealed. Lu Ming could only grit his teeth and resist, pushing his battle prowess to the limit. As long as they could delay until Ling Yue successfully sealed it, they could immediately leave this place. In the blink of an eye, several minutes had passed. At this moment, the blood pythons and the blood energy suddenly shrank and gathered towards the depths of the valley. In the blink of an eye, they disappeared without a trace. Brr. Suddenly, a low roar came from the depths of the valley. Then a terrifying suction force suddenly erupted and acted on Lu Ming's body. This is bad. Lu Ming's expression changed greatly because this suction force was too terrifying. Lu Ming was actually unable to stabilize his body and flew towards the depths of the valley. Chiu Chiu. Lu Ming's heart stirred as he sent a sound transmission to Chiu Chiu. At this time he could only disturb Chiu Chiu. On his wrist, the ball quickly wriggled and turned into a silver spear. Lu Ming shouted loudly and thrust his spear towards the depths of the valley. A moonlight spear light broke into the depths of the valley, but it was like a stone sinking into the sea, not causing a single splash. Lu Ming was still flying towards the valley along with that powerful force. Chiu Chiu exploded with all his might, wanting to rush out, but it was useless. The suction force was too terrifying. Swish. Lu Ming could not stabilize his body at all. He flew directly into the depths of the valley. At this moment, Lu Ming saw that Ling Yue had successfully sealed the blood god fruit tree and placed it in the jade bottle. When Ling Yue saw that Lu Ming had been attracted into the valley, her face revealed a look of panic. She shouted and shot an arrow at the valley with all her might. However, it was still like a stone sinking into the sea, not causing the slightest ripple. This was the last time Lu Ming saw Ling Yue. The next moment, he flew into the depths of the valley, his line of sight blocked by the thick blood aura. After passing through the thick blood qi, he arrived at the end of the valley. However, at the end of the valley there was a cave. The strong suction force came from this cave. Lu Ming couldn't help but fly into the cave. In the next moment, the suction force disappeared. Lu Ming discovered that he was already in a huge cave. Lu Ming immediately became cautious. That is, suddenly Lu Ming's eyes widened. Because in front of him he saw a huge python. This python actually had a pair of flesh spikes, but on its head there was also a pair of dragon horns. It was very strange. Lu Ming had never seen such a python before. The python was extremely huge. His body was curled up like a mountain. Its huge eyes stared at Lu Ming. What a powerful body, what a vigorous blood qi. A mere divine lord has such a powerful blood qi. It's really rare. If I refine you, it will definitely be a great supplement. The giant python opened its mouth, greed flashing in its eyes. Were you the one who sucked me in? Lu Ming stared at the python and asked. Other than me, who else could it be? Kid, become my nourishment. The giant python opened its bloody maw and spat out a gust of bloody qi. No, this was not blood qi. This was a kind of blood flame. The blood flame had an astonishingly high temperature. Before it even got close to Lu Ming felt a terrifying temperature spreading towards him. This temperature gave Lu Ming an extremely dangerous feeling. Lu Ming did not hesitate and retreated. You want to retreat in front of me? How naive. Suppress. The python said coldly. Then a terrifying pressure acted on Lu Ming's body. Lu Ming actually found it hard to move. This python was terrifyingly strong. It was unknown what realm it was at. Bus. Chiu Chiu turned into a silver-white spear, bursting out with resplendent spear light, wanting to break through this pressure. What a strange metallic life form. Interesting. I'll study it later. The python looked at Chiu Chiu curiously. It tilted its head slightly and Chiu Chiu left Lu Ming's body. It flew away and crashed into a wall, unable to move. With Chiu Chiu's current cultivation level, it could kill ordinary cultivators of the 4th godly emperor layer. However, in front of this python it could not fight back at all. Whoosh whoosh, the blood flame enveloped Lu Ming. Lu Ming sensed a terrifying heat and a destructive strength penetrating into Lu Ming's body. It wanted to burn Lu Ming. How could Lu Ming take this lying down? All the cells in his body began to tremble. The taboo force was fully unleashed to resist the erosion of the blood flame. The python's eyes suddenly opened wide. It couldn't believe it and then it was overjoyed. Forbidden strength. It's forbidden strength. Surprisingly, it's a forbidden body. Ah, I'm so lucky. That thread of forbidden strength is mine. The python actually recognized the taboo power, and its eyes burned with a burning flame and thick greed. The blood flames in its mouth became more intense and they surged toward Lu Ming crazily. Even if you have forbidden strength, you can't fuse with it. Forbidden strength isn't something that just anyone can fuse with. Lu Ming gave a long howl. You're right. Forbidden strength isn't something that just anyone can fuse with. Even I can't do it, but so what? I will turn you into my puppet and let you continue growing. In the future you will become a sharp weapon in my hands. Ah. Back then I was lucky enough to survive. Someday I will definitely get my revenge. Ah. The python burst into laughter. It was extremely excited. Lu Ming's heart sank. That python was terrifyingly strong. He didn't know where it came from. According to legends, the Blood Shadow demonic land was created by the blood of an extremely strong cultivator. Was that python the one who had created the blood? Chapter 38-31. Chi. The blood flame enveloped Lu Ming, burning him continuously. From the inside to the outside, every part of his body was enveloped by the blood flame. Lu Ming resisted with all his might with the taboo power. In this way, the potential stored in the depths of Lu Ming's cells was all stimulated at once. Lu Ming felt that there was powerful energy surging out of every cell in his body. The potential that he had stored up was completely depleted in an instant. Boom. Under the eruption of this potential, Lu Ming's aura skyrocketed all of a sudden. He broke through. Under the pressure of this terrifying blood flame, Lu Ming's potential exploded all at once. Lu Ming's cultivation also broke through from the 7th level Divine Lord Realm to the 8th level Divine Lord Realm, increasing his strength greatly. Unfortunately, this python was too strong. It was not something that could be dealt with by breaking through one level of cultivation. Even if Lu Ming broke through to the 8th level Divine Lord Realm, he could not move at all. He could only resist for a little longer. Broke through? Amazing, amazing. Is this the taboo body? Under danger, it stimulated his potential and broke through his cultivation. Good ha! The python laughed loudly. The greed in its eyes became even stronger. It could not wait to get Lu Ming in its hands. There's no other way. I can only rely on the purple copper coffin. Lu Ming thought. Unless it was a last resort, Lu Ming really did not want to touch the purple copper coffin. Because as his cultivation increased, he increasingly felt the evilness and danger of the purple copper coffin. This thing was a double-edged sword. If he was not careful, he would play himself to death. But now he had no choice but to use it. Even if he really played himself to death, he could not let this python get away with it. With a thought, the purple copper coffin appeared. This is... The python's eyes were staring at the purple copper coffin. With its cultivation, its spiritual sense was also abnormally sharp. It instinctively felt that the purple copper coffin was very scary. Therefore, the python directly attacked. Its tail exploded the space and whipped towards the purple copper coffin. Gotcha. The sound of metal rubbing against each other could be heard as the lid of the purple copper coffin opened slightly. Lu Ming was shocked. He was not the one who had opened the purple copper coffin. The lid of the purple copper coffin had opened by itself. It was just a tiny gap, yet a terrifying aura was emitted from it. When Lu Ming was still very weak, facing this aura, he only felt that it was very terrifying, unstoppable, and difficult to resist. Now, Lu Ming was many times more powerful than before. However, in the face of this force, he still felt that it was unstoppable and unstoppable. It was incomparably terrifying. The python's pupils shrank rapidly, revealing a look of fear. Gotcha. The sound of metal rubbing against each other continued. The lid of the purple copper coffin opened even more. Boom. An even more terrifying aura burst out, shaking the heavens and the earth. It was as if there was an incomparably terrifying creature within the copper coffin that was about to break out of the coffin. The blood flames on Lu Ming's body were swept away by this aura, disappearing without a trace. Lu Ming's body returned to normal in an instant. The python's pupils shrank in fear as it retreated rapidly. At the same time it roared, "What is in this coffin of yours? What the hell is it?" However, before the python could retreat far enough, something strange happened. Suddenly, an arm stretched out from the purple copper coffin. This arm was covered with green scales, looking ferocious and terrifying. At first, the arm was only the size of a normal person's arm, but after it stretched out, it rapidly expanded. Moreover, there was a chain wrapped around the arm, one end wrapped around the arm, and the other end extended into the purple copper coffin. Clang, clang, clang. The chains trembled and his arm grew. His fingertips were covered with sharp purple armor as he grabbed at the python. Before he even reached it, a terrifying energy was already pressing down on the python. Brr. The python roared and the entire rock cave shook. Its aura soared to the sky and a terrifying aura erupted, causing Lu Ming's heart to tremble violently. Terrifying, extremely terrifying. This python's cultivation was probably above the divine emperor realm. The python's potential was unleashed. Its tail was like a long spear, piercing towards the claw that was covered with scales as if it could pierce through everything. However, the tail that seemed to be able to pierce through everything did not pierce through the claw that was covered with scales. It only made a dong sound when it hit the claw, and then there was no further movement. Instead, the claw grabbed the python's tail, causing the python to be extremely frightened. It struggled with all its might, and a ray of divine light shot out from its mouth towards the claw that was covered with scales. This attack was extremely terrifying. If it was outside, it could destroy a large area of the starry sky and countless planets. However, when it landed on the claw that was covered with scales, it had no effect at all. Not even a single scale fell off. The claw that was covered with scales slightly shook the python's tail. Crack, crack, it was like shaking a whip. The python's entire body shook, and its bones made cracking sounds as it broke into dozens of pieces. The python's huge body became limp, unable to exert any strength. It was really like a soft whip. The claw that was covered with scales suddenly grew bigger, and it grabbed the python and then pulled it back into the copper coffin. No, 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 what kind of copper coffin is this? Why is there a living primitive divine spirit? No. The python roared in horror, and divine light kept flowing out of its body. It wanted to break free from the claw that was covered with scales, but it was useless. In a breath, the claw that was covered with scales retracted back into the copper coffin, and the python was naturally pulled in as well. With a clang, the lid of the copper coffin closed automatically, and the terrifying aura disappeared without a trace. Lu Ming was dumbfounded. His eyes were wide open and he could not react for a long time, because all of this happened too suddenly and it was too unbelievable. After a while, Lu Ming slowly calmed down, but his heart was in turmoil. Was the python's last roar real? A living primitive divine spirit? Did the claw that was covered with scales just now belong to the primitive divine spirit? Is there really a primitive divine spirit buried in the copper coffin? But why is there a chain wrapped around that arm? It seems like it's being chained. Lu Ming's thoughts drifted and his imagination ran wild. There were too many questions that he could not figure out. If it was a living primitive divine spirit, why was it hiding in a copper coffin? Furthermore, why were they chained up? Why did it take down the python just now? Why didn't it attack him? There were many questions that Lu Ming could not figure out. However, he could not open the purple copper coffin to ask about it. The existence inside was too terrifying. He was already very lucky that it did not attack him. If it was unhappy and gave him a slap, wouldn't he be wronged? Chapter 38-32. After thinking about the purple copper coffin for a while, he still had no clue. Lu Ming shook his head and threw this question out of his mind. Since he couldn't figure it out, he couldn't be bothered to think about it. Let's talk about it after my cultivation has increased. At the very least, the danger just now has been resolved, right? Furthermore, Lu Ming's cultivation had broken through in one go. Lu Ming felt his body and felt that it was filled with powerful energy. It was as if his entire body had endless power, and every move he made could shatter the void. This time it was truly a blessing in disguise. His cultivation had stepped into the 8th level of the Divine Lord realm, and Lu Ming's battle prowess had increased by a large amount. Previously, when he was facing Ling Yue alone, he was still a little uncertain in his heart. Now he was much more confident. However, just now, the potential stored in my cells was used up all of a sudden. I need to continue replenishing it. Thinking of this, Lu Ming was not in a hurry to leave. Instead, he took out a bone pearl and began to absorb it. In any case, this kind of bone pearl's energy was very pure, and the speed at which it was absorbed and refined was very fast. In 2 days, Lu Ming had refined 2 bone pearls. However, as his cultivation increased, the amount of potential that could be stored in his cells increased. The 2 bone pearls only stored 50% of his potential. 50% of his potential was enough for the time being. Lu Ming did not continue refining and ended his cultivation. He walked around the cave, but unfortunately he did not find anything, so Lu Ming left. When Lu Ming returned to the location of the blood god fruit, he did not find any traces of Ling Yue. Could it be that Ling Yue went to deal with Xueming alone? Lu Ming revealed a pondering expression. He did not suspect that it was Ling Yue's scheme that he was swallowed by the python earlier. Ling Yue most likely did not know about it because using that python to kill Lu Ming would not benefit Ling Yue in the slightest. Lu Ming had 2 pieces of life spirit origin stone fragments on him. Without Lu Ming's life spirit origin stone fragments, How was Ling Yue going to find the treasures of the Life Spirit Heavenly Court? Lu Ming reckoned that Ling Yue probably didn't know either. Lu Ming walked out of the valley. What surprised Lu Ming was that as soon as Lu Ming left the valley, he saw a figure. Was Ling Yue. Muyun, you're fine. Seeing Lu Ming, Ling Yue revealed a happy expression and hurriedly flew over. What? Why are you so concerned about me? Don't tell me you've fallen for me? Lu Ming joked. After saying that, Lu Ming wanted to slap his own mouth. His mouth couldn't help but spout nonsense. What are you talking about? I'm just worried about the fragments of the natal spirit stone. Don't overthink it. Ling Yue rolled her eyes at Lu Ming and snorted coldly. That's great. Lu Ming hurriedly said. What do you mean by this? Ling Yue glared. Nothing. By the way, how did you get the information about the blood god fruit tree? Lu Ming hurriedly changed the topic. Naturally, I sent someone to inquire about it. Ling Yue said. Looks like someone is trying to scam you, Lu Ming said. Muyun, what happened in the depths of your valley? Ling Yue asked. Inside, there is a terrifying existence. Lu Ming told her about the python in the depths of the valley. Of course, he skipped over the matter of the purple copper coffin. He only said that he escaped by luck. Ling Yue naturally didn't believe that it was because of luck, but she knew that this was Lu Ming's secret, so he didn't ask any further. Ling Yue's face darkened. Indeed, someone was trying to scam her. How could the person who knew about the blood god fruit tree not know that there was a terrifying existence in the depths of the valley? Since he knew, why didn't he tell her? If Lu Ming wasn't here this time and she was here alone, the consequences would be unimaginable. Humph, looks like someone beside me has a change of heart. It looks like I have to go back and tidy things up. Ling Yue said coldly, a cold light flashing in her eyes. Lu Ming didn't say anything more. This was Ling Yue's private matter. As for how Ling Yue would reorganize it in the future, he couldn't be bothered to care. This time their goal had been achieved. The blood god fruit tree had been obtained. The next step was to transplant it and lure Xueming over. Immediately, they left the blood shadow demonic land and headed towards the lost land of panicked gods. More than 10 days later, they arrived at the periphery of the lost land of panicked gods. The lost land of panicked gods was actually a galaxy. In the distant past, it was the core territory of a powerful force. However, this force was destroyed later on, but their territory was left behind. This galaxy had an extremely powerful array formation. Even after a long time had passed, its power was still astonishing, preventing existences above the Divine Emperor realm from entering. If an existence above the Divine Emperor realm entered, it would affect the entire formation and attack it. Those below the Divine Emperor realm wouldn't. This was the best place to deal with Xueming. The two of them flashed and entered the lost land of panicked gods. After a period of time, the two of them stopped on a planet. Let's do it here. This place has already experienced a great battle, and the blood of experts has been spilled here. The blood energy is rich and it's just right to transplant the blood god fruit tree. Ling Yue said. Lu Ming nodded. Naturally he had no objections. Next, Ling Yue moved and removed the blood god fruit tree from the jade bottle. Then she removed the seal and planted it in a basin with rich blood energy. Then they took out a jade talisman and recorded the route to this place, forming a map of the stars. Which one of us will reveal the news to Xueming? Ling Yue said. I'll go. Lu Ming said. Ling Yue nodded and handed the jade talisman to Lu Ming. The two of them divided the work. Lu Ming went to leak the news while Ling Yue guarded this place. Lu Ming didn't stop. He left the lost land of panicked gods and headed towards the territory of the blood demon race. Blood Sky Star was a relatively famous planet in the territory of the blood demon race. It was rich in divine energy and was very prosperous. Most importantly, this planet was under the control of Xueming. Ling Yue had long since inquired about Xueming's background. The news of the blood god fruit naturally had to be leaked to Xueming's direct subordinates. This way it could reach Xueming as quickly as possible. Lu Ming walked into the largest shop on Blood Sky Star. This shop was definitely opened by a direct descendant of Xueming. Young master, may I ask what I can help you with? A young woman in a blood-red robe walked over. Lu Ming scanned with his spiritual sense and could tell that this young woman was at the Divine Lord realm. He couldn't help but sigh. The blood demon race was indeed a large race. They were powerful. Even an ordinary shop assistant had a Divine Lord realm cultivation. I'm here to sell something, sell a piece of information. Lu Ming said. Sell a piece of information? The young woman was slightly stunned. There were many people who came to buy treasures or sell treasures, but this was the first time she had heard of someone who came to sell information. I'm sorry, young master. We don't buy information here, the young woman said. Don't be in a hurry to refuse. Shui Ming will definitely be very interested in this news of mine, Lu Ming said with a smile. Chapter 38-33. Lu Ming smiled and sent a telepathic message to the young salesgirl. It's about the blood god fruit. Do you want to buy it? The young salesgirl's body trembled and her eyes lit up. She was also a practitioner of the blood Tao, so she naturally knew how important the blood god fruit was to a practitioner of the blood Tao. However, the blood god fruit was too rare and could not be bought even if one had the money. At the same time, she also knew that her master, Shui Ming, cultivated the blood demon divine body and also desired the blood god fruit. If Shui Ming knew about the blood god fruit, he would buy it at all costs. If she knew about the blood god fruit, she would be heavily rewarded by Shui Ming and her status would soar in the future. Thinking of this, the young salesgirl was so excited that her body trembled. Young master, this is a big deal. Please wait for a moment. I'll ask the steward to discuss it with you. The young salesgirl said. Go ahead. Lu Ming smiled. The young salesgirl hurriedly left. Not long after, the young salesgirl came back with two people. One was a white-haired skinny old man and the other was a chubby middle-aged man. Young master, these two are our stewards, Steward Lu and Steward Li. The young salesgirl pointed at Lu Ming and introduced them. Young master, you said that you have news about the blood god fruit? Steward Lu, the white-haired skinny old man, sent a telepathic message to Lu Ming. The blood god fruit was too important and could not be spread. Otherwise it would cause a stir. However, his voice was also trembling slightly, revealing the excitement in his heart. That's right. Lu Ming nodded. Let's talk inside. Steward Lu gestured. After a while, Lu Ming, Steward Lu, and Steward Li were in a guest room. Young master, how should I address you? Steward Li asked with a warm smile on his chubby face. My surname is Mu, Lu Ming said. Young master Mu. Young master Mu, is it true that you have news about the blood god fruit? Steward Li asked as he looked at Lu Ming expectantly. It's absolutely true. I swear it with the very essence of life, Lu Ming said. He immediately swore an oath with the origin of life, stating that the information about the blood god fruits was true. Manager Li and Manager Lu's eyes lit up even more. Since he dared to swear on his life source, it was most likely true. Young Master Mu, you said that you want to sell this piece of information. Why don't you name a price? Manager Li continued. I don't need treasures nor do I need divine crystals. I need secret techniques. Lu Ming stated his purpose. This was the reason why he had leaked the information about the blood god fruit. Rather than letting the news leak out for nothing, it would be better to make the best use of it and maximize its value. You need a secret technique? Steward Li and Steward Lu were startled. It was rare to see someone selling secret techniques. What secret technique do you need? Steward Lu asked. Lu Ming took out a jade talisman and said, This jade talisman records the names of 550 secret techniques. I don't need any of these 550 secret techniques. Apart from these 550, any other secret technique will do. I need 150 of them. The 550 secret techniques in the jade talisman were all mastered by Lu Ming. If he wanted to trade for secret techniques, of course he would need those that he didn't have. 150 secret techniques. Steward Lu and Manager Li were shocked. They were very curious. Why would Lu Ming need so many secret techniques? However, this was Lu Ming's secret, so they were too embarrassed to ask. The two took the jade talisman and looked at it carefully. After looking at it for a while, the two of them revealed awkward expressions. Young Master Mu, to be honest, apart from these 550 secret techniques, it's not that easy to get the other 150. Will take a long time. Steward Lu was a little embarrassed. It wasn't difficult for them to take out 150 ordinary secret techniques. The difficult part was that many of them were the same as Lu Ming's. How long will it take? Lu Ming asked. 3 months. Steward Lu and Manager Li discussed for a while and gave an answer. Alright, I'll wait for 3 months. I'll be back in 3 months. Lu Ming said as he stood up and brought his fists together and left in big strides. After watching Lu Ming leave, Steward Lu and Manager Li exchanged glances and fell into deep thought. This guy has information about the blood god fruit. If young Master Shui Ming knows about it, he will be overjoyed and we'll all be rewarded. However, it's not easy to get 150 secret techniques. Do you think we should send someone to deal with this guy secretly and get the information about the blood god fruit? Steward Lu said as his small eyes flickered with coldness. That's not right. Manager Li said. His chubby face shone with a wise light. If this guy dares to come alone, he must have some confidence. He most likely has a backup plan. Even if we make a move, we might not be able to get the information about the blood god fruit. In addition, this guy most likely has someone to help him. If we kill him, his companions will definitely guess that we did it. Once the news is leaked, it will greatly affect our reputation. Who will dare to do business with us in the future? Because 150 secret techniques are not worth the loss. Manager Lee continued. Hearing this, Manager Lee nodded silently and said, "That makes sense. Then we'd better prepare 150 secret techniques as soon as possible." Lu Ming naturally didn't know about the conversation between Manager Lee and Manager Lu. He had left the Blood Sky Star long ago and kept changing his position along the way. Then he came to a remote planet. Lu Ming sent a message to Ling Yue and asked her to wait for a few months. Then he began to cultivate in seclusion. Lu Ming didn't want to waste 3 months and began to cultivate the great art of fragmentation. If he could successfully cultivate the great art of fragmentation, his battle strength would undoubtedly rise to another level. The difficulty of cultivating the 3,000 ancient secret techniques was extremely high. Lu Ming had some experience with the Great Divine Wind technique, but it was still very difficult for him to cultivate it. For the next few days, Lu Ming still couldn't find any way to do it. Time passed day by day. 10 days, 20 days, 1 month. In the blink of an eye, 3 months had passed. After spending 3 months, Lu Ming finally got a feel for it. Bang! Lu Ming's palm landed on a black iron stone the size of a water jar. The black iron stone didn't move at all. When Lu Ming moved his palm away with a kacha sound, the black iron stone fragments turned into fist-sized small stones. They were very neat and were the same size. "I'm still far from being able to enter the sect," Lu Ming sighed. Although he had grasped the basics of the great art of fragmentation, he was still far from being able to enter the sect. If he had entered the sect with a single palm strike, the black iron stone would not have shattered into fist-sized stones, but into ashes. However, even if he had only grasped the basics combined with Lu Ming's attack, he could still slightly increase his attack power. Chapter 38-34. In 3 months, Lu Ming had only grasped a little bit of it and was not very satisfied. If 9 Silkworm Prince knew about his thoughts, he would probably be angered to death. 9 Silkworm Prince thought that he was a genius, but it took him 10,000 years to cultivate the great art of shattering. Even if he only grasped a little bit of it, it took him 1,000 years. Compared to Lu Ming's 3 months, it was a far cry. At this time, Lu Ming finished his cultivation and returned to the Blood Sky Star. He met Steward Lu and Steward Li again. "Young Master Mu, the 150 kinds of blood god fruit you want are here. What about your information about the blood god fruit? You can tell me now." A jade talisman appeared in Steward Li's hand. With a wave of his hand, the jade talisman flew to Lu Ming. Lu Ming reached out to take it and scanned it with his spiritual consciousness. Sure enough, there were 150 kinds of secret skills recorded in the jade talisman, which he had not cultivated before. Lu Ming was delighted. He took out the map of the blood god fruit tree and handed it to Steward Li. "The map to the blood god fruit is in this jade talisman." Lu Ming handed the map to Steward Li. Steward Li and Steward Lu took the jade talisman and looked at it. "In the panicked god ruins?" Both of their expressions changed slightly. They had heard of the panicked god ruins. No one above the Divine Emperor realm could enter there, or they would be attacked by the formation there. "Yes, it's in the panicked god ruins. I saw it by accident. But the blood god fruit is not very useful to me and I can't pick it, so I recorded the specific location to maximize the profit." Lu Ming said. "Haha, young Master Mu is really good at doing business." Steward Li smiled. They believed Lu Ming's words. Indeed, the blood god fruit was very useful to those who cultivated the blood Dao. However, to others it wasn't very useful. Furthermore, once it was plucked, its medicinal effects would quickly dissipate. Instead, it was more valuable to record its location and sell it for information. That was why Steward Li said that Lu Ming was good at doing business. "Well, the deal is done. I'll take my leave." Lu Ming cupped his fists and left the place. After leaving the Blood Sky Star, he changed several directions and headed towards the panicked God Remnant land. After Lu Ming left, Steward Li and Steward Lu started discussing. "There's no time to lose. We have to inform Child Xueming about the blood divine fruit immediately. Old Lu, you stay here and take charge. I'll send the map to Child Xueming." Manager Li said as a crafty glint flashed across the depths of his eyes. Whoever delivered the message would definitely gain Xueming's favor and gain more benefits. "This," Steward Lu pondered. "Don't worry, this credit was earned by both of us. I won't take it all for myself. Old Lu, you can trust me, right? Manager Li purposely said with a straight face. Of course I trust you. Alright, let's do it this way. I'll stay here while you deliver the map. Steward Lu said. Alright, haha, I'll set off right away. Manager Li was overjoyed. He quickly got up and left to deliver the news to Xue Mingtong. Hee hee. Watching Steward Li leave, Steward Lu let out 2 sneers. Even if I send the news to Xue Ming, how much reward can I get? I might as well sell this news. I believe many people will like it. Greed flashed in Steward Lu's eyes as he took out the Dream Jade and sent out a few messages. Lu Ming returned to the panicked God Remnant land, met up with Ling Yue and waited. The two of them hid in the shadows of the panicked God Remnant land and quietly observed. A few days later, a group of figures suddenly sped over from afar and stopped outside the panicked God Remnant land. There were a total of 9 people. The leader was a young woman and behind her were 8 people. There were middle-aged men and old men. These people were all quasi-emperors. It's not Xue Ming. Ling Yue whispered. Lu Ming also frowned. Instead of Xue Ming, other people came. However, judging from their clothes, they should be from the Blood Demon race. Could it be that these people came to the panicked God Remnant land to seek treasures? After all, the panicked God Remnant land was also left behind by a large force. It was normal for some treasures to be left behind. Usually, it would attract many people to take the risk to seek treasures. Swoosh swoosh. Suddenly, figures flew over from another direction. These figures were all enveloped in a bloody light. When the bloody light faded, figures appeared one after another. These people were clearly divided into several groups. The leaders were all young men and women. Their cultivations were very high, and the people they brought were all quasi-emperors. Several groups of people sized each other up. Their auras collided and cold killing intent spread out. Blood Guard, you are also here for the Blood God fruit. The woman who first appeared stared at a young man with an unfriendly expression. It seems that you are also here for the Blood God fruit. That old man clearly said that he would only sell the news to me. Damn it, how dare he lie to me? A young man shouted angrily. That old man also said that he would only sell it to me. The others also spoke, their expressions ugly. They knew that they had been deceived. The person who sold the news to them didn't sell it to them alone, but to many people. In the distance, Lu Ming and Ling Yue were dumbfounded. They didn't expect that the news of the Blood God fruit would be leaked. It didn't attract Xue Ming but another group of people. There's a traitor among Xue Ming's subordinates. Lu Ming and Ling Yue came to this conclusion and could only be speechless. It was true that plans couldn't keep up with changes. Their plan was flawless, but they didn't expect that a traitor would appear among Xue Ming's subordinates and leak the news of the Blood God fruit. It must be those 2 stewards, Lu Ming thought to himself. Let's return to the Blood God fruit tree first. Before Xue Ming appears, we must not let these people obtain the Blood God fruit. Ling Yue secretly transmitted her voice to Lu Ming. Alright, let's go back. Lu Ming nodded and quietly left with Ling Yue. They returned to the planet where the Blood God fruit tree was planted and hid near it. Not long after the 2 of them hid, streaks of bloody light rushed over from afar. There were at least 100 of them. There were more people. Lu Ming and Ling Yue were speechless. How many people did Xue Ming's subordinates sell it to? Over 100 experts, divided into several groups, began to search this planet. This was only an ordinary planet. Compared to the Dragon Clan's mother planet, it was many times smaller. Moreover, those who cultivated the Blood Dao were very sensitive to the Blood God fruit. They quickly sensed the location of the Blood God fruit. With a flash, over 100 people appeared in the area of the Blood God fruit tree. Their gazes all fell on the Blood God fruit tree and the Blood God fruit on it. All of them revealed greedy looks. Some of them even started to breathe heavily. Chapter 38-35. It really is the Blood God fruit. Haha, it really is the Blood God fruit. Someone laughed ecstatically. Whoosh. Suddenly there was a flash of crimson light. Someone attacked another group of people. However, that group of people was prepared and immediately counterattacked. The Blood God fruit is mine. Go to hell. You're the one who will die. Kill. The scene was chaotic. Several groups of people were caught in a scuffle. Those young men were obviously the supreme talents of the Blood Demon tribe. They were very powerful and were locked in a fierce battle. Soon more and more people were killed. In a few minutes, dozens of people had been killed. The remaining people fought even more fiercely. At this moment, another crimson light flew in from afar. The crimson light faded and revealed the faces of the people inside. The leader was a young man in a tight crimson robe. He held a crimson paper fan in his hand. This person appeared in the sky with a dozen or so old men. He looked down at the people fighting below with a mocking smile on his face. The people fighting below also saw him. It's Desolate Blood. He's here too. Many people exclaimed and their faces changed. Desolate Blood was an extremely terrifying supreme talent of the Blood Demon tribe. Although his cultivation was only at the Quasi-Emperor level, he could kill a Divine Emperor. He was somewhat famous among the Quasi-Emperor level supreme talents in the primitive universe. The people who were fighting stopped and stared at Desolation of Blood cautiously. The Blood God fruit is mine. All of you get lost. Desolate Blood waved his hand casually as if he was shooing away a group of subordinates. Those who were fighting earlier had ugly looks on their faces. Desolate Blood, you want to take the Blood God fruit for yourself. Your appetite is too big. A young woman said. That's right. We were here before you. Another young man spoke up. I said that I want the Blood God fruit. You can get lost. If you don't, you can stay here forever. Desolate Blood said coldly with a ferocious look on his face. Desolate Blood, don't be too overbearing. There are so many of us. We may not be afraid of you. That's right. Let's join forces and defeat Desolate Blood first. It won't be too late to fight for the Blood God fruit later. At the beginning, those people were slowly approaching to join forces against Desolate Blood. There were no eternal enemies, only eternal benefits. Previously they had killed each other because of the Blood God fruit. Now that they were facing a common enemy, they chose to work together. You overestimate yourselves. Since you want to die, I'll fulfill your wish. The malevolent expression on Desolation Blood's face intensified. His body emitted a dense blood-red glow as the paper fan in his hand emitted a clanging sound and slowly turned into a blood-red sword. Whoosh! With a flash of bloody light, Desolation of Blood attacked. He turned into a bloody shadow and attacked those people. Let's attack together. Some of the people from before roared in anger. Suddenly, dozens of quasi-emperors attacked together. Dozens of attacks were directed at Desolation of Blood. Dozens of people attacked together and their power was extremely shocking. Everywhere they passed, the void was blasted into nothingness. However, Desolation of Blood's speed was extremely fast. He kept flashing and dodging the attacks as he quickly closed in on his opponent. When he got closer, the sword light suddenly exploded. Streaks of blood-red sword light shot out at an astonishing speed. Puff puff puff. In an instant, 12 quasi-emperors were slashed by the sword light. They didn't even have time to scream before they died. The terrifying thing was that those who were slashed by the blood-red light instantly shriveled up like mummies. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. After killing 12 quasi-emperors, Desolation of Blood's attacks didn't stop. The sword light continued to explode, and in the next moment, another 12 quasi-emperors were killed. The rest of the people were shocked. They didn't dare to stay any longer and quickly retreated. Desolation of Blood continued to attack. This time he targeted those young supreme talents. There were a total of 5 young supreme talents. The 5 supreme talents roared and unleashed their full strength to fight Desolation of Blood. Clang, clang, boom, boom, boom. A series of explosions sounded. In the next moment, the 5 supreme talents retreated violently. Each of them had blood flowing out of their mouths. There was disbelief in everyone's eyes. The 5 of them were supreme talents. Otherwise, they wouldn't have reached the quasi-emperor realm at such a young age. However, the 5 of them still weren't a match for Desolation of Blood. You're the one who's clamoring the loudest. I'll send you on your way. Desolation of Blood's cold voice sounded. He then turned into a sword light and attacked a young man. The young man was shocked and frantically retreated. At the same time he shouted, "Come and help me." However, the other 4 supreme talents weren't going to help him. They all retreated and escaped with their subordinates. Compared to the Blood God fruit, their lives were more important. Desolation of Blood were both from the Blood Demon tribe. You can't kill me, the young man screamed in despair. However, Desolation of Blood ignored him and continued to attack. The sky was filled with blood-red sword light. In the end, the young man couldn't avoid the sword light and was pierced between his eyebrows. His body quickly shriveled up and his eyes were filled with despair. In just a few breaths, the young man had become a dried corpse and his life force had been extinguished. On the other hand, Desolation of Blood's body flashed with a strange red light. His aura had become stronger. The Blood God fruit is mine. With the Blood God fruit, I'll be able to break through to the Divine Emperor realm. Desolation of Blood's eyes flashed with a fiery radiance. The Divine Emperor realm was a hurdle that wasn't easy to cross. The number of quasi-emperors in the Eldritch universe was shocking. Many of them were stuck at the quasi-emperor realm and couldn't break through. Even many supreme talents were stuck at the quasi-emperor realm for a long time. Some supreme talents couldn't break through for the rest of their lives. Once they broke through, their lifespan and combat strength would be greatly increased. Desolation of Blood had been stuck at the quasi-emperor realm for a long time. Only when he stepped into the divine emperor realm in the Eldritch universe could he be considered as one of the supreme talents. Only then would he be able to interact with the supreme talents of the Eldritch universe. Desolation of Blood revealed a greedy look and strode towards the blood god fruit. "Looks like we'll have to take action," Lu Ming said. Shui Ming hadn't arrived yet and the blood god fruit naturally couldn't fall into Desolation of Blood's hands. "Are you going to take action or should I?" Ling Yue said. "Shui Ming hasn't arrived yet. I'll take action." "It won't be too late for you to take action when Shui Ming arrives," Lu Ming said. After the two finished their discussion, Lu Ming was about to take action. However, his eyes suddenly looked in another direction. There was a blood-red light coming from that direction. In the blink of an eye, it had arrived. The blood-red light faded and revealed a beautiful woman. This woman was very enchanting. She wore a blood-red phoenix robe and looked graceful. "I can't give you the blood god fruit." The beautiful woman smiled and her voice was very pleasant. Chapter 38-36. Desolate Blood sneered and looked at the lady. "Beauty, I won't kill you since you look pretty good. Get lost." "Shameless boasting. Do you think you're my opponent?" The young lady was very confident. After saying that, her body changed rapidly and turned into a blood-red phoenix. This was the lady's original body, a blood-red phoenix. She wasn't an expert of the Blood Demon clan. Lu Ming and Ling Yue were speechless. How could an expert outside of the Blood Demon clan be attracted to this place? Blood-red phoenix. Desolate Blood's face changed. The Phoenix clan was a terrifying clan in the primitive universe. It was said that countless years ago, it was a clan that was on par with the Divine Dragon clan. However, something happened later on, causing their strength to weaken. But now they were still ranked 19th on the primitive 10,000 clan board. "Now, are you going to get lost or should I?" The blood-red phoenix said in a cold voice. So what if you're a blood-red phoenix? Do you think I'm afraid of you?" Desolate Blood wasn't willing to leave just like that. The blood god fruit was too useful to him. So what if his opponent was a blood-red phoenix? He wasn't necessarily strong just because he came from a big clan. He was very confident in himself. Stubborn. The blood-red phoenix snorted and flapped its wings. A layer of flames jumped around its body. This layer of flames was blood-red like fresh blood. A terrifyingly high temperature filled the air. Boom. The blood-red phoenix flapped its wings and a terrifying aura burst out. The void exploded continuously. Then blood-red flames rushed towards Desolation of Blood like huge waves. Desolate Blood didn't dare to be careless in the face of the blood-red phoenix's attack. He let out a long cry and his blood chi exploded. A huge blood-red sword light slashed towards the void. Wherever it passed, the void was split in half. Boom. The sword light and the blood-red flames collided and exploded. Streaks of blood-red sword chi and blood-red flames burst out in all directions. At this moment, Desolate Blood sword light suddenly changed direction and charged towards the blood-red phoenix. The speed was shocking. However, the blood phoenix's speed was even more shocking. With a flap of its wings, it disappeared from where it was. In the next moment, it appeared in front of the blood desolation divine spear. Its wings were like divine blades, slashing towards the blood desolation. With a clang, the two of them collided again. This time, Desolation of Blood's body trembled and retreated. In the second collision, Desolation of Blood was at a disadvantage. The blood phoenix launched an intense attack. The two of them exchanged more than 10 blows. Desolation of Blood was no match for the blood phoenix. Bang. In the end, Desolation of Blood was hit by one of the blood phoenix's wings. His body almost exploded as he retreated. "Remember this, let's go." Desolate Blood roared and flew into the distance. He didn't dare to stay any longer. He brought some of his subordinates with him and left in a flash. With Desolation's retreat, the blood phoenix was the only one left. Blood god fruit. The blood phoenix looked at the blood god fruit. Without any hesitation, it flapped its wings and pounced toward the blood god fruit. It opened its mouth and was about to swallow it. However, at this moment, a young man suddenly appeared in front of her. This young man was naturally Lu Ming. "The blood god fruit isn't something that you can take. Back off," Lu Ming said. "You want to stop me? Let's see if you have the ability." The blood phoenix shouted coldly. With a flap of its wings, two blood-red light blades slashed toward Lu Ming. Boom. Lu Ming brandished his fist and threw a punch. The void exploded. With a destructive force, it bombarded the two blood-colored light blades. The blood-red light blades vibrated and exploded. The Blood Phoenix's eyes narrowed. She was very clear about how powerful her move earlier was. However, it was actually defeated by Lu Ming's punch. Moreover, Lu Ming was clearly only an 8th-level Divine Lord. I don't believe that an 8th-level Divine Lord can be strong. The Blood Phoenix was furious. It flapped its wings and slashed at Lu Ming like a storm. Lu Ming punched out and collided with the Blood Phoenix's wings. Bam bam. After a few explosions, the Blood Phoenix's figure retreated quickly. She felt an intense pain from her wings and her bones were about to shatter. Damn it. The Blood Phoenix was furious. A few feathers from her tail flew out. These were phoenix feathers. There were a total of 8 of them. They were like 8 sharp swords that stabbed toward Lu Ming. The power was terrifying. However, Lu Ming's current cultivation had reached the 8th-level Divine Lord. His combat strength was shocking. A casual attack could erupt with terrifying power. Lu Ming only punched out. The terrifying fist force was like a stormy sea that swept everything. The attack formed by the 8 phoenix feathers was directly sent flying. With a swoosh, Lu Ming's figure landed on the Blood Phoenix's back. Get down, get down. The Blood Phoenix roared and struggled crazily. She was actually being ridden on Lu Ming's back. This was a great humiliation. Flames erupted all over her body, wanting to burn Lu Ming to death. However, Lu Ming had a forbidden body. How could she burn him? She was no threat to Lu Ming at all. Since you like to attack with feathers, I'll pluck all your feathers. Lu Ming sneered. He reached out and grabbed a handful of feathers from the Blood Phoenix's back and plucked them out. You deserve to die, the Blood Phoenix screamed crazily. Phoenix feathers are good stuff. It's worth collecting. Continue. Lu Ming couldn't be bothered with the Blood Phoenix. He put away the feathers that he had plucked out just now and plucked another handful. Stop it. Stop it. The Blood Phoenix roared. Lu Ming continued. Stop, I'll leave. I'll leave, okay? I don't want the Blood God fruit anymore, okay? The Blood Phoenix screamed and then flew away. Seeing that the Blood Phoenix had left, Lu Ming left its back. The Blood Phoenix flew into the distance and stopped. It glared at Lu Ming and said, Brat, I will remember you. After saying that, it left in a flash. Lu Ming smiled faintly and ignored it. He returned to Ling Yue's side. He's here. It should be Xue Ming. Ling Yue suddenly said and looked up at the sky. In the starry sky, a blood-red cloud was rolling towards them. Even though they were far away, they could still feel the terrifying aura. Xue Ming usually doesn't use his main body when he just appears. It's most likely his clone. Wait a moment, I'll lure his clone away. Ling Yue said. The reason why Ling Yue was the one who made the move was because Ling Yue could seal the aura of her soul fragment, but Lu Ming couldn't. Once he went out, he would be sensed by the other party. Only when Xue Ming's main body came out would Lu Ming be able to make his move. The blood cloud in the starry sky was extremely fast. It shook the entire starry sky and caused it to explode. On this planet, the people who had just escaped, including Xue Huang, all sensed it. Their expressions changed drastically. It's Xue Ming. Xue Ming is here too. Chapter 38-37. Someone from the blood demon race exclaimed and then sighed. www.org. They knew that now that Xue Ming had arrived, they wouldn't get a share of the blood god fruit. Xue Ming was ranked 11th on the top 100 quasi-emperors list. Although the top 100 quasi-emperors list wasn't precious and there might be many geniuses missing, those who could be ranked were definitely terrifying. In the blink of an eye, Xue Ming entered the sky above the planet. As soon as Xue Ming arrived above the planet, he found the location of the blood god fruit. With a flash of bloody light, a burly figure appeared above the blood god fruit. This was Xue Ming. He was very burly and was more than 2 meters tall. He had a square face and a wide mouth. When he opened and closed his eyes, there was always a murderous aura. Bang! He stepped out very decisively and directly stepped toward the blood god fruit. But at this time Ling Yue had already made her move. She turned into a ray of green light and flashed out, appearing in front of Xue Ming. Of course, Ling Yue had already changed her appearance, so Xue Ming couldn't recognize her. As for the aura of life origin, Xue Ming had never seen Ling Yue before, so he naturally didn't know about it. When Xue Ming saw someone appear, he frowned slightly and said, Elf race. The blood god fruit seems to be useless to the elf race, but you're here. Is this blood god fruit related to you? Ming's mind was very sharp, and he immediately saw through the trick. Whether it's related to me or not, you can't take this blood god fruit away, Ling Yue said. In this pantheon ruins, divine emperors can't enter. There aren't many people in the world who can stop me. Are you confident? Ming said. The murderous aura in his eyes grew stronger. How do you know if you don't try? Ling Yue said. Try. Then use your life as a test. Ming shouted coldly. In the next moment, Ming directly attacked. His entire body was enveloped by blood qi. With a terrifying aura, he charged toward Ling Yue. As soon as he attacked, the void collapsed. It was incomparably terrifying. This was Ming's power. He was ranked 11th on the top 100 quasi-emperors list, much stronger than 9 silkworm prince. Such a person could easily kill ordinary divine emperors as easily as taking something out of his pocket. Buzz. Ling Yue took out her bow and knocked an arrow. A few arrows flew out and collided with Ming's attack, blocking it. To be able to block my attack, you have some strength, but you are still far from it, Ming said coldly. His killing intent soared into the sky, and his blood energy exploded as he rapidly approached Ling Yue. However, Ling Yue naturally wouldn't let him get close. She quickly retreated, pulling away from Ming as arrows continuously flew towards Ming. A blood-red battle blade appeared in Ming's hand. He continuously slashed out, sending Ling Yue's arrows flying. Is this really Ming's clone? In the distance, Lu Ming was secretly watching. He was also secretly shocked. The battle prowess that Ming had displayed was extremely terrifying. He was definitely stronger than the blood phoenix from before. Moreover, it looked no different from a normal life form. It was impossible to tell that it was a clone. Of course, Lu Ming could also tell that Ling Yue had not used her full strength. Ling Yue used her full strength, and her battle prowess was extremely astonishing. She was probably even stronger than Ming's clone. However, Ling Yue's goal was to lure away this clone. Before Ming's true body appeared, it was not advisable to reveal too much of her strength. If Ming's true body was frightened and did not dare to appear, it would be troublesome. Therefore, Ling Yue fought with Ming for a while, pretending to be at a disadvantage. Ming, you're amazing, Ling Yue purposely said unwillingly, then turned around and left. You want to leave? Stay for me? Ming roared angrily, his face filled with killing intent as he chased after Ling Yue. The two of them, one chasing and one fleeing, disappeared in the blink of an eye. Lu Ming did not move. He hid in the shadows and quietly waited. Sure enough, not long after, another figure appeared in the air. Another Ming. This person, whether it was his figure, appearance or aura, was exactly the same as Ming. However, it shouldn't be the one from before. If the one from before had escaped Ling Yue's control and returned to this place, Ling Yue would definitely send him a message. Moreover, this person had appeared from another direction. The new Ming looked around like a hawk. Finally, his gaze landed on the blood god fruit. Then he slowly stepped forward and walked toward the blood god fruit. Lu Ming's eyes flashed, but he still restrained himself and did not move. This was because he was not sure if this Ming was Ming's clone or his true body. He planned to continue probing. Ming slowly walked toward the blood god fruit. Soon he arrived beside it and reached out to grab it. However, just as he was about to grab the blood god fruit, he stopped. Then he stretched out his hand and looked around again. A trace of doubt appeared on his face. Then he looked up at the sky. The sky rippled like water. Then a figure flashed and another Ming appeared. The third Ming. This Ming stood in the sky and looked around. He snorted coldly and flew toward the blood god fruit. A bloody light swept up the blood god fruit and flew into his mouth. This is the true body. Lu Ming's eyes flashed. However, he did not make a move immediately. When Ming started to refine the blood god fruit, it would be the best time to make a move. He sent a message to Ling Yue. After swallowing the blood god fruit, Ming sat down cross-legged on the ground. His body was covered in a bloody light as he began to refine the fruit. At this moment, Lu Ming moved. His figure flashed and rushed toward Ming like a phantom. As he rushed out, 3 gravity orbs flew out. The powerful gravity enveloped the 2 Mings. As the gravity enveloped them, Lu Ming threw out a punch. Lu Ming activated the battle character art for this punch, increasing his battle strength by 5 times. Boom! A huge fist energy pierced through the void and blasted toward Ming's true body. Everything in the path of the fist energy was destroyed. However, Ming's doppelganger reacted quickly. When Lu Ming made his move, he moved as well. His figure flashed and appeared in front of Lu Ming. A bloody light burst out and a bloody saber light slashed toward Lu Ming. It collided with Lu Ming's fist and exploded with a loud bang. However, Lu Ming did not continue to attack. Instead, his figure flashed and he went around Xue Ming's doppelganger and appeared on the other side of Xue Ming's true body. He had expected Xue Ming's doppelganger to stop him. He had no intention of fighting with Xue Ming's doppelganger. His target had always been Xue Ming's true body. Boom. Lu Ming threw out another punch. This time Lu Ming used the Great God Wind technique. Lu Ming punched out, wanting to take down Xue Ming in one fell swoop. However, at this moment Xue Ming, who was refining the blood god fruit, suddenly opened his eyes. Two scarlet saber lights shot out from his eyes and slashed toward Lu Ming. Chapter 38:38. Two scarlet rays of light shot out from Xue Ming's eyes and slashed toward Lu Ming. www.org. At the same time, Xue Ming let out a long roar that sounded like thunder. The bloody light on his body surged and his blood chi burst forth. It turned into a bright bloody ray of light and slashed toward Lu Ming. Boom, boom, boom. A few consecutive terrifying explosions erupted. The saber gleam that burst out from Xue Ming's eyes was defeated by Lu Ming in one move. In the end, it collided with the blood-colored saber gleam that Xue Ming slashed out. Dozens of energy waves erupted and surged in all directions. Whoosh! Lu Ming's body shook and he could not help but retreat. Xue Ming's blade light was also defeated. The powerful force also pushed Xue Ming back a few steps. Great God Wind skill, you are Mu Yun. Xue Ming steadied himself and his eyes flashed with bloody light. He looked at Lu Ming in shock. You guessed it. Lu Ming said lightly. Mu Yun, you are stronger than the rumors say. It seems that everyone has underestimated you. Xue Ming said coldly. As he spoke, his doppelganger silently circled behind Lu Ming. Together with Xue Ming himself, they blocked Lu Ming's path. You weren't refining the blood god fruit before? Lu Ming asked in return. If he had been refining the blood god fruit, he would not have reacted so quickly. Do you think I am so easily fooled? Why would the news of the blood god fruit come to me all of a sudden? You even sent it to my subordinates. The moment I heard about it, I knew it was a trap. Xue Ming sneered. www.org, but you still came. Lu Ming said. Since there is really a blood god fruit and it is in Panicked God's Forgotten Land, why wouldn't I come? I want to see who dares to trick me in Panicked God's Forgotten Land. Xue Ming said, his tone full of confidence. Yes, even though he knew there was a trap, he still came because this was the Panicked God's Forgotten Land. Godly emperors couldn't enter. Xue Ming was confident that there were only a handful of quasi-emperors in the primitive universe who were stronger than him, let alone those who could kill him. This was the source of his confidence. Now, I finally know why you schemed against me. You have fragments of a natal spirit stone. But what I find strange is that we have never met before. How did you know that I have fragments of a natal spirit stone? Xue Ming said. His blood-red eyes stared fixedly at Lu Ming, flickering with greed. Lu Ming wanted his shards of life spirit vitality stone. How could he not want Lu Ming's shards of life spirit vitality stone? Hand over the life spirit vitality stone fragment and I'll tell you. Lu Ming smiled faintly. Aha, do you think you can deal with me? Mu Yun, targeting me is the biggest mistake you've made. Xue Ming let out a long laugh as his aura became even more shocking. Boom. Raging blood chi soared into the sky. Xue Ming's entire body seemed to be enveloped in a layer of blood chi armor. A blood-red saber appeared in his hand. It was 2 meters long and filled with terrifying saber chi. At the same time, Xue Ming's avatar also raised his aura to the peak. Whoosh, whoosh. Xue Ming's main body and avatar moved at the same time. They waved their sabers and charged towards Lu Ming. The 2 sabers cut through the air and slashed towards Lu Ming. Wherever the saber light passed, heaven and earth roared and the void exploded. It was as if doomsday had arrived. Lu Ming raised his aura to the peak and fully displayed the Great God Wind technique. His entire body was wrapped in a layer of astral wind. His fists constantly punched out and fist prints filled the sky as he fought against Xue Ming. The starry sky shook as the two exchanged more than 10 blows. During the fierce battle, Lu Ming was secretly shocked. Xue Ming's strength was really terrifying. Lu Ming had used almost all his strength, but he was still only able to fight Xue Ming to a draw. One had to know that Lu Ming had already broken through to the 8th level Divine Lord Realm. If Lu Ming was still at the 7th level Divine Lord Realm, he would definitely not be Xue Ming's match. Xue Ming was only ranked 11th on the top 100 quasi-emperors list, but his combat strength was already so strong. How strong were the top 10 or even the top 3 monstrous geniuses? Perhaps there really was someone who could fight against him at the same level. The taboo physique was known as a taboo. It was synonymous with invincibility. However, it was not impossible to fight against it in the primitive universe. In fact, while Lu Ming was shocked, Xueming was even more shocked. He had never imagined that Mu Yun would be so strong that he could fight against him. No wonder he dared to steal his life spirit origin stone fragment. Kill? Xueming roared and his attacks became even more violent. The blood qi on his body became denser and denser. When it reached its peak, a figure suddenly rushed out from Xueming's main body. It was Xueming's avatar. Another avatar had appeared. After an intense fight, Lu Ming discovered that Xueming's avatar was slightly weaker than Xueming's main body. However, it was not much weaker. It had at least 80% of Xueming's main body's combat strength. This was extremely terrifying. If one avatar had 80% of Xueming's main body's combat strength, then what about several avatars? The combat strength of each avatar was at the peak of the quasi-emperors in the primitive universe. When multiple avatars joined forces, their power was extremely shocking. Now, the two avatars in Xueming's main body had joined forces and launched a frenzied attack on Lu Ming. For a moment, even Lu Ming felt immense pressure. The two of them fought fiercely, and in the blink of an eye, they had exchanged dozens of blows. At this moment, Xueming's main body suddenly shook and his aura became chaotic. Although Lu Ming was surprised, how could he miss such an opportunity? He ignored the attacks of the two avatars and attacked Xueming's main body with all his might. Although Xueming's main body reacted quickly, it was still a step too late and was hit by Lu Ming's fist. Bam! Xueming's main body was sent flying and he spat out a mouthful of blood. However, Lu Ming was also hit by Xueming's two avatars. Two saber wounds appeared on his body and he was almost cut in half. Lu Ming was sent flying to the side. His cells were constantly using energy to heal his injuries. Whoosh! At this moment, a jade-green arrow shot toward Xueming's main body from afar. The arrow pierced through the void and was faster than lightning. Its power was terrifying. It crossed the long void in an instant and was aimed at Xueming's forehead. At this moment, Xueming had just been injured by Lu Ming. This arrow was so fast that Xueming could not dodge it. Block it! Xueming roared. The avatar closest to him immediately rushed out and pounced on the arrow. Bam! The arrow accurately hit the doppelganger. With a bang, the doppelganger exploded and dissipated into energy. The moment the avatar was destroyed, Xueming's main body shook violently and coughed up a mouthful of blood. Clearly, Xueming's main body was greatly affected by the destruction of his avatar. Not far away, a light flashed and Ling Yue appeared. Xueming's main body stared at Ling Yue and shouted, "You were the one who killed one of my avatars, right? Who are you? There aren't many quasi-emperors in the universe who can kill my avatar." Ling Yue did not reply. However, her appearance began to change. She had changed her appearance before. Now, she had returned to her original appearance. Chapter 38-39. Seeing Ling Yue's true appearance, Xueming's pupils suddenly widened as he exclaimed, "Elven Princess Ling Yue, it's you?" Although he had never seen Ling Yue in reality, he had seen her appearance in the Dream Jade before, so he naturally recognized her at a glance. www.org, it's me? Ling Yue nodded. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. It seemed that Ling Yue's Xueming clone had already been killed by Ling Yue, so when Xueming was fighting, his body suddenly trembled. That was the backlash from the death of his clone. "Ling Yue, I don't understand. Why did you come to kill me? Could it be that you're really married to Mu Yun?" Xueming asked. The universe was abuzz with rumors that Ling Yue was going to marry Mu Yun. Xueming thought that Ling Yue was here to help Lu Ming seize his life spirit origin stone fragment. "I'm naturally here for your life spirit origin stone fragment." Ling Yue smiled. Xueming's pupils suddenly shrank as he said, "Ling Yue, so you also have a life spirit origin stone fragment. It seems that this blood god fruit was set up by you guys to lure me out. However, do you think that you can really take me down with just the two of you?" Even when facing Lu Ming and Ling Yue, Xueming was still confident. Even if he was no match for them, he could still escape. After all, Ling Yue's ranking in the top 100 quasi-emperor rankings was lower than his. Moreover, he still had the blood demon clone. Xueming's mind was already rapidly calculating. He was calculating how to escape and then mobilizing the experts of the blood demon race to kill Lu Ming and Ling Yue. However, Ling Yue and Lu Ming would no longer waste their breath with him. Swish, swish. The two of them moved at the same time, charging towards Xueming. "Ling Yue, I'll leave that clone to you first. I'll deal with Xueming's main body." Lu Ming sent a sound transmission to Ling Yue. His own attacks were like a storm as they pressed down on Xue Ming's main body. Lu Ming raised his battle prowess to the extreme. Not only did he display the Great Divine Wind technique, but he also displayed the Great Fragmentation technique that he had just touched upon. In addition, the 3 gravity orbs were activated at full power, and the powerful gravity enveloped Xue Ming and his doppelganger. Even with Xue Ming's battle prowess, he was greatly affected. Blood Demon Divine Body, immortal for all eternity. Xue Ming's main body let out a long howl. His body seemed to have completely turned into blood, and it swelled rapidly, transforming into a 10-meter-tall blood demon. Xue Ming brandished the 10-meter-long blood saber in his hand. The shocking saber radiance burst out and slashed toward Lu Ming. Lu Ming's fist collided with the blood-colored saber light, and a heaven-shaking explosion erupted. A terrifying force tore through the void, and the planet beneath their feet instantly exploded. The terrifying force left cracks in the starry sky of the universe, which spread out over 10 million li www. Or the two of them quickly retreated. But this time Xue Ming retreated even further. When the two of them were at their peak, Lu Ming was no weaker than Xue Ming. Moreover, Xue Ming was injured now, so he was naturally no match for Lu Ming. Lu Ming retreated and displayed the Great Divine Wind technique. His speed was extremely fast, and in a flash he appeared in front of Xue Ming and continued to launch a terrifying attack. On the other side, Ling Yue also made her move. A towering tree appeared behind her. It was so tall that it towered into the starry sky. A huge amount of green light flew into Ling Yue's body, causing her aura to soar to the extreme. Ling Yue held a huge battle bow in her hand, and endless green light gathered into an arrow. Whoosh! The arrow flew out and shot toward Xue Ming's doppelganger. Wherever the arrow passed, the universe seemed to be divided into 2 halves. Xue Ming's doppelganger let out a long howl and became one with the saber, transforming into a blood-colored saber light that was tens of thousands of meters long. It slashed toward Ling Yue and collided with the emerald green arrow. Boom! With a shocking explosion, a huge hole was blasted in the sky of the universe, and a figure rapidly retreated. It was Xue Ming's doppelganger. At this moment, the light on Xue Ming's doppelganger dimmed, and runes crawled all over his body. This was Ling Yue's sealing power. Whoosh! Ling Yue drew her bow for the second time, and another arrow flew toward Xue Ming's doppelganger. Xue Ming's doppelganger struggled violently, but he was sealed and was useless. The arrow pierced through Xue Ming's body, and then Xue Ming's doppelganger exploded, turning into energy and disappearing. Xue Ming's main body suffered a backlash once again. He coughed up large mouthfuls of blood and roared in shock. Ling Yue, why is your combat strength so strong? His doppelganger had 80% of his main body's combat strength, but now, it had been shot by Ling Yue with 2 arrows. This level of combat strength was probably stronger than his main body. Wasn't Ling Yue ranked 16th on the top 100 quasi-emperors list, weaker than him? However, her combat strength just now was clearly stronger than his. Lu Ming's eyes flashed. He could also tell that Ling Yue's combat strength was stronger than he had imagined. She could probably defeat Xue Ming by herself. The people outside had underestimated her. No wonder she dared to scheme against Xue Ming by herself in the past. The reason why she pulled him along was probably because she was afraid that she wouldn't be able to keep Xue Ming by herself. She was afraid that Xue Ming would escape. However, Lu Ming was only slightly surprised for a moment. His attack speed didn't slow down in the slightest. Taking advantage of Xue Ming's backlash, Lu Ming seized the opportunity and struck Xue Ming again, sending him flying. Let's go. Xue Ming had just stabilized his body, and without thinking, he flew into the distance. He knew that with Lu Ming and Ling Yue working together, he was no match for them. If this continued, his main body would have to stay here. Mu Yun used the gravity orb to suppress him and slow him down. Leave the main attack to me. Ling Yue sent a sound transmission to Lu Ming. At the same time, she drew her bow and shot out another arrow. The speed of the arrow was simply too fast as it chased after Xue Ming. The arrows scattered in the air, turning into hundreds of arrows that enveloped Xue Ming from all directions. During this process, Lu Ming used the Great Divine Wind technique and constantly flashed as he approached Xue Ming. The powerful gravity of the gravity orb enveloped Xue Ming and slowed him down. Then arrows filled the sky and flew toward Xue Ming. Seeing that he couldn't dodge them, Xue Ming roared. His saber light exploded and he instantly slashed out hundreds of times, colliding with the arrows. However, even though he had managed to block the arrow, his body was covered in runes and symbols. Ling Yue's sealing power wanted to seal Xue Ming. Xueming roared and erupted with all his strength. Countless blood-colored lights pierced out of his body like sharp swords, wanting to erase the sealing power. However, Lu Ming wouldn't give him such a chance. Boom, boom, boom. Lu Ming waved his fists continuously and threw out hundreds of punches. Hundreds of fist energies bombarded Xueming's body, completely obliterating the bloody light that burst out from his body. At the same time, Xueming vomited blood. Kill? Ling Yue seized the opportunity and shot out a terrifying arrow. Book guest reading website. Chapter 3840. For the last arrow, Ling Yue used all her strength. The terrifying arrow instantly tore through the void and shot towards Xueming. Under such circumstances, Xueming couldn't dodge at all. Therefore, he could only do his best to increase his defense and his chances of survival. Xueming was hit by the arrow. At the critical moment, he managed to avoid being hit in the head. However, his chest was still pierced by the arrow. The powerful force of the arrow sent Xueming flying millions of miles into the void. Although Xueming wasn't killed on the spot, he was severely injured and his aura was extremely weak. His body had been destroyed by the destructive power of the arrow. It would take at least a month for him to recover. Now, Lu Ming and Ling Yue naturally wouldn't give Xueming a month. The two of them chased after Xueming at their fastest speed. In a flash, they approached Xueming. Before they arrived, their attacks arrived first. They didn't give Xueming a chance to breathe because they were afraid that Xueming would spread the news with the Dream God Jade. After all, controlling the Dream God Jade required divine power and time. As long as he didn't have the time, he wouldn't be able to spread the news. But at this moment, something unexpected happened. Just as Lu Ming and Ling Yue were not far from Xueming, a figure suddenly appeared behind Xueming. It was a young man wearing a black robe. He was tall and sturdy. The most special thing about this person was his appearance. This person had 3 heads and 6 arms. The expression of each head was different. There was anger, killing intent, and joy. As soon as this person appeared, he attacked Xueming. 6 different attacks appeared on his 6 arms and blasted towards Xueming. Azura, Xueming let out a roar of unwillingness as his body exploded. Even his soul did not manage to escape and was destroyed as well. A peerless monster of a generation had fallen just like that. As soon as Xueming fell, a white light rushed out of his body. Life Spirit Origin Stone Fragment. Lu Ming and Ling Yue could tell at a glance that this was a Life Spirit Origin Stone Fragment. It was Xueming's Life Spirit Origin Stone Fragment. The young man with 3 heads and 6 arms reached out and grabbed the fragment of Xueming's Life Spirit Origin Stone. Let go of the Vitality Stone Fragment. No, this person also has fragments of the Natal Spirit Primal Stone in his body. Lu Ming and Ling Yue exclaimed. This was because both of them could sense that the 3-headed, 6-armed young man was not only holding Xueming's Natal Spirit Stone Fragment in his hand, but there was also a Natal Spirit Stone Fragment in his body. He was also a prodigy who had been chosen by the Life Spirit Vitality Stone Fragment. Whoosh, boom. Without the slightest hesitation, Ling Yue and Lu Ming made their moves. An arrow and a fist energy pierced through the air and shot toward the man. This person's 3 heads all revealed different expressions. There was killing intent, anger, and disdain. His 6 arms formed different seals at the same time, striking out 6 different attacks, colliding with Lu Ming and Ling Yue's attacks. A series of explosions rang out. The 3-headed, 6-armed young man actually blocked Lu Ming and Ling Yue's attacks, but his body was pushed back. Lu Ming and Ling Yue were secretly shocked. This person's combat power was so strong. He actually blocked the attacks of the 2 of them by himself. Without a doubt, this person's cultivation was also at the Quasi-Emperor level. Those above the Divine Emperor level could not enter. However, Lu Ming and Ling Yue's attacks did not stop at all. After missing their first move, their second move exploded out. A towering tree appeared behind Ling Yue. Endless green light entered Ling Yue's body and then turned into an emerald green arrow. As for Lu Ming, he used the taboo power, the Great God Wind technique, and so on to the peak and blasted out a move. 2 more terrifying attacks than the previous one blasted toward the 3-headed, 6-armed young man. The 3-headed, 6-armed young man's 3 faces all revealed serious expressions at the same time. He let out a light shout, and his 6 arms no longer formed seals individually. Instead, they cooperated with each other to form seals. Then a huge figure appeared in the sky. This was a terrifying figure with 99 heads and 999 arms. This figure's 999 arms suddenly joined forces and pressed down, transforming into a huge palm that pressed down on Lu Ming and Ling Yue's attacks. Boom. A terrifying explosion occurred. It shook the heavens and the earth and spread across millions of miles of the starry sky. If there were still stars here, they would definitely be blown to ashes. In the end, the huge figure with 99 heads and 999 arms exploded under the terrifying power. However, Lu Ming and Ling Yue's attacks were also blocked. That young man had only retreated a distance. His aura was slightly unstable, but he was not injured. Lu Ming and Ling Yue were truly shocked. Just now, the two of them had almost used all their strength and used their strongest attacks, but they were blocked by the three-headed, six-armed young man. This was unbelievable. Now, Lu Ming and Ling Yue had joined forces. How terrifying was that? Even Xueming would die. However, this young man in front of them could block it. There were only a few quasi-emperor-level geniuses in the entire universe who could do this. Don't fight yet. At this moment, the three-headed, six-armed young man suddenly shouted. Lu Ming and Ling Yue were not in a hurry to attack. Azura clansman, who are you? Ling Yue stared at the young man and asked. Without a doubt, this young man was from the Shura race. The three-headed, six-armed figure could only belong to the Shura race. Xiao Wuji. One of the young man's heads smiled faintly and spoke. The other two heads did not speak. Xiao Wuji? There's no such name in the top 100 quasi-emperors list. Ling Yue said. With Xiao Wuji's combat strength, he could definitely be ranked in the top 10 of the top 100 quasi-emperors list. However, there was no such name in the top 100 quasi-emperors list. You believe in the top 100 quasi-emperors list? It's all arranged by some bored people. There's no participation from the top 10 races or the Heavenly Palace. I don't know how many people were left out. Xiao Wuji smiled faintly. Lu Ming and Ling Yue nodded secretly. Indeed, the top 100 quasi-emperors list was not like the Universe Genius list, which had the top 10 races and the Heavenly Palace. It was very valuable. Even if there were some who were left out, there were very few of them. There were definitely many terrifying geniuses who were not listed in the top 100 quasi-emperors list. For example, Xiao Wuji. Xiao Wuji, hand over the Life Spirit Origin Stone fragment. You alone are no match for the two of us. Ling Yue said domineeringly. Ling Yue, you don't have to scare me. I saw your fight with Xueming very clearly. I also tried to test your strength. If the two of you work together, you might be able to defeat me. However, if I want to leave, you won't be able to stop me. Xiao Wuji smiled faintly. Chapter 38-41. Xiao Wuji was very confident, but Lu Ming and Ling Yue's faces were gloomy. They knew that Xiao Wuji was right. If the two of them worked together, they might be able to suppress Xiao Wuji, but if he tried to break through, they might not be able to stop him. Unfortunately, Qiu isn't here. Lu Ming sighed in his heart. Divine emperors and above couldn't enter the panicked god ruins, so Qiu didn't follow them in and stayed outside. If Qiu was here, no matter how strong Xiao Wuji was, he wouldn't be Qiu's opponent. Xiao Wuji, do you think I don't have a trump card? If I don't mind paying a price, I can definitely keep you here. Ling Yue said coldly. I know you have a trump card, but do you think I don't have one? Xiao Wuji was still chuckling softly. He appeared very confident, as if he had the pearl of wisdom in his hand. Ling Yue's face darkened. If she had a trump card, how could Xiao Wuji not have one? It was hard to say. She couldn't figure out Xiao Wuji. I'd like to know why you're here. Ling Yue asked. It's very simple. You've been eyeing Xueming and I've been eyeing him for a long time. It's just that Xueming is very cautious. His main body has been hiding, so I haven't had a chance to make a move. Fortunately, you've appeared. When I saw Xueming's main body appear, I knew my chance had come. So I've been secretly following Xueming to this panicked god ruins. I wanted to wait for Xueming to refine the blood god fruit, but I didn't expect you to act faster than me. It saved me a lot of effort. Xiao Wuji explained with a smile. Then Xiao Wuji's tone changed. I know you want this life spirit Yuan stone and I'll give it to you as well. However, I have a condition. You want to give this life spirit Yuan stone to us. Ling Yue's eyes flashed. She was very surprised. Lu Ming was also very surprised. That's right, it's absolutely true. Xiao Wuji nodded. What's your condition? Ling Yue asked. It's very simple. Let's join forces and explore the Life Spirit Heavenly Court ruins together. Xiao Wuji. You want to join forces with us? Lu Ming and Ling Yue's eyes were filled with suspicion. It was obvious that they did not believe in Xiao Wuji. The Life Spirit Heavenly Court is no small matter. It's too difficult and dangerous for one person to explore it alone. If we work together, we'll have the best chance. Let's work together and share the treasures equally. How about that? After all, I can't take you down and you can't take me down. If we split up and explore, we'll only get half the results with twice the effort. But if we work together, we'll get twice the results with half the effort. For the three of us, this is a huge advantage. Xiao Wuji Dao. Ling Yuwei and Lu Ming also began to ponder. It had to be said that what Xiao Wuji said made sense. If they worked together, both sides would benefit. However, the two of them could not believe Xiao Wuji so easily. This Xiao Wuji gave them an unfathomable feeling. How do you want to work together? Ling Yuwei continued to ask. I know you don't believe me. First, I'll give you this piece of life spirit vitality stone to show my sincerity. Also, I know something important about the life spirit heavenly court that I can tell you. Xiao Wuji Dao. Oh? Give me the fragment of the life spirit vitality stone first. Ling Yuwei stretched out her hand. Unexpectedly, Xiao Wuji smiled and waved his hand, throwing the fragment of the life spirit vitality stone to Ling Yuwei without any hesitation. Ling Yuwei used her divine power to wrap around the fragment of the life spirit vitality stone. She scanned it with her spiritual sense and found that there was nothing wrong with it. She was surprised that Xiao Wuji would actually give her the fragment of the life spirit vitality stone. Dense runes appeared on Ling Yuwei's palm. She used the power of sealing to seal the fragment of the life spirit vitality stone and then put it away. According to the agreement, this fragment of the life spirit vitality stone belonged to Ling Yuwei. What is the important news you mentioned? After Ling Yuwei put away the fragment of the life spirit vitality stone, she felt a lot more at ease with Xiao Wuji and asked again. Through my life spirit vitality stone fragment, the stone spirit, I know of a place that is very likely left behind by the life spirit heavenly court. Xiao Wuji Dao. The life spirit was left behind by the heavenly court. Lu Ming and Ling Yuwei were both shocked. Up until now, other than obtaining a few fragments of the life spirit vitality stone, they had no other clues about the life spirit heavenly court. When this person heard such news, he couldn't help but feel excited. The main heavenly court of the life spirit heavenly court is mysterious and unfathomable. I don't know where it floats in the universe, and below the life spirit heavenly court, there are 9 great life spirit halls. They are also difficult to find. However, apart from the main heavenly court and the 9 life spirit halls, there are other treasures left behind in the life spirit celestial court. My rock spirit told me about this treasure land. It's very likely that there are clues to the 9 life spirit halls in it. Therefore, I want to cooperate with you to explore this treasure land together, and then continue to explore the 9 great life spirit heavenly court, and even the final life spirit heavenly court. Xiao Wuji told them everything he knew in one breath. Lu Ming and Ling Yuwei's eyes flashed. They were obviously moved. The treasures left behind by the life spirit heavenly court were definitely no small matter. There would definitely be opportunities. The key was that they might even find information about the 9 great life spirit halls. As the life spirit heavenly court's 9 great life spirit halls, there would definitely be shocking opportunities. If news of this spread, the entire universe would be shocked. It would be strange if the two of them weren't moved. I know that the two of you don't believe me, but what I said is absolutely true. I can swear with my life origin. Xiao Wuji immediately swore with his life origin that what he said about the treasure land of the life spirit heavenly court was absolutely true. Every word was true. Alright, I agree to cooperate with you. Muyan, what do you say? Ling Yuwei nodded in agreement, then looked at Lu Ming. Since we want to cooperate, of course we will. Lu Ming also nodded. Alright. Xiao Wuji was overjoyed. The treasure of the life spirit heavenly court I said is in the Hengsha Star region. There is no time to lose. We should set off as soon as possible. The three of them discussed for a while and immediately set off. However, they were afraid that Xueming had brought a divine emperor expert to guard outside the panicked God-forgotten land. So they chose a remote direction and left the panicked God-forgotten land. After leaving the panicked God-forgotten land, they found an excuse and secretly left for a while to meet up with Qiuqiu. Then they returned to the team and the three of them headed toward the Hengsha Star region. The Hengsha Star region was a star region even larger than the Iron Sea Star region. There were many star regions here and they were also filled with large and small forces. It was very chaotic. However, the Hengsha Star region they were going to was located at the edge of the Hengsha Star region. It was very remote. According to the information they had found, this place was not occupied by any forces. However, when they arrived they were dumbfounded. The core region of the Sand Stratum had been occupied by a powerful force, and it had been occupied for a very long time. Book Guest House Reading Website. Chapter 3842. Lu Ming, Ling Yuwei and Xiao Wuji looked at each other in dismay. According to the information they had gathered, the Sand Layer star field was located in the wilderness. The cultivation environment was not good, so it was not chosen by any forces. But now the Sand Layer star field had already been occupied by a sect called the Spirit Heng sect. Only the surrounding area had not been occupied. And the entrance to the treasure land left behind by the heavenly court that Lu Ming wanted them to go to was at the core of the Sand Layer star field. After asking around, they found out that the planet where the entrance was located was heavily guarded by the Lin Heng sect. There were divine emperors guarding it, and it was as solid as a rock. With their strength, it was almost impossible for them to force their way in. The three of them were speechless. It seemed that it was not that easy to obtain the life spirit of the heavenly court. The three of them discussed for a while and decided to stay near the Sand Layer star field. They would gather information and act according to the situation. Golden Sand Planet was a planet in the periphery of the Sand Layer star field. This planet was relatively lively. It was a place of commerce. In the Sand City star field, it was considered very prosperous. There were creatures from all over the world coming and going. It was very lively. As soon as the three of them entered a city, they smelled a rich fragrance. The direction of the fragrance was not far ahead. The three of them were curious and walked over. They saw that in an empty space, rows of tables and chairs were already filled with people. These people were drinking and eating barbecued meat. That rich fragrance was coming from the barbecued meat. Just smelling that fragrance was enough to make one's appetite stir. Guests, do you want to eat barbecued meat? Our barbecued desert flame sparrow meat is famous far and wide. It is known as the #1 delicacy in the Sand Star Field group and has attracted countless guests. As soon as the three of them walked in, a waiter immediately came up to greet them. That's right, we're here to eat barbecued meat. Give us a few plates. Ling Yue was very heroic. She casually sat down at an empty table. Lu Ming and Xiao Wuji also sat down. Soon, 3 large basins of barbecued meat were served. Each basin of barbecued meat weighed more than 10 jin. In addition, there were 3 jars of wine. Lu Ming grabbed it and took a bite. As expected, it was fragrant and melted in his mouth. It was a rare delicacy. No wonder it attracted so many people. Ling Yue and Xiao Wuji also began to eat without holding back. The three of them perked up their ears as they ate, listening to the discussions of the people around them. Have you heard? The Lingheng sect will soon recruit people to enter the Golden Sand Planet to hunt the soul beasts inside. Someone said. When they heard about the Lingheng sect and the Jinsha planet, Lu Ming and the other 2 pricked up their ears and listened confidently. This Black Sand Planet was just an ordinary planet in the past. Who would have thought that Black Sand Planet actually came with a medium-class world that contained a large number of soul beasts? Soul Jade can be obtained by killing soul beasts. Soul Jade is a good thing. It can strengthen the strength of the soul and even increase the strength of one's comprehension of origin secret techniques. That's right. The Lingheng sect relied on this to make a fortune. However, the Lingheng sect is also polite. They recruit people to hunt soul beasts and can keep 30% of the soul jade they obtain. This time I must sign up. I want to go too. Around them, voices entered the ears of Lu Ming, Ling Yue, and Xiao Wuji. The three of them looked at each other and saw surprise in each other's eyes. A medium-class world attached to Black Sand Planet? Could it be a treasure land left behind by the Life Spirit Heavenly Court? The Lingheng sect wanted to recruit people to enter this world to hunt soul beasts. This was their chance. The three of them immediately decided to sign up and take the opportunity to sneak in. What worried them was that if this world was really a treasure land left behind by the Life Spirit Heavenly Court, then would the opportunities inside have long been plundered by the people of the Lingheng sect. However, since they were already here, they definitely had to go in and take a look. Otherwise, how could they be willing? At this moment, Lu Ming frowned. He noticed that there were a few gazes on his left that kept glancing at him. There was killing intent in their eyes. Lu Ming's spiritual sense was extremely sharp. He clearly caught the killing intent in the other party's eyes. Not only on the left but also behind. Lu Ming felt the hair on his back stand up. This was a natural reaction after being stared at by a murderous gaze. At this moment, Ling Yue and Xiao Wuji also felt it. The reason why they felt that it was a little slow was because the killing intent was mainly aimed at Lu Ming. They were only incidental, so they felt that it was a little slow. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Suddenly, over 100 people flew over from one direction. As soon as these people arrived, they revealed a strong killing intent and swept their eyes across the entire place. Those who were eating barbecued meat were shocked and ran away. In the blink of an eye, none of the barbecued meat customers were left. The remaining people were all in the same group. They were all people who wanted to kill Lu Ming. Lu Ming frowned. He didn't know these people at all. Why would they want to kill him? Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. The figures of these people flashed and surrounded Lu Ming and the other 2. "Brat, how dare you kill our young master? You're unlucky today. We'll let you die miserably." A burly man stared at Lu Ming. His eyes were very ferocious. "Your young master? Who is it?" "I think you've got the wrong person," Lu Ming said. "Wrong person? Hee, let me tell you, we're from the Blood Skull Pirates," the burly man said. "So it's the Blood Skull Pirates." Lu Ming suddenly understood. He remembered that when he and Ling Yue went to the Blood Shadow Fiend land to transplant the Blood God fruit tree, they met the Blood Skull Pirates. Among them, the young man in the lead claimed to be the young master of the Blood Skull Pirates. At that time, the young master of the Blood Skull Pirates led the monsters to surround and kill them. In the end, he was killed by Lu Ming and wiped out the entire Blood Skull Pirates. However, didn't he kill all of the Blood Skull Pirates at that time? Could it be that there were still people alive? "Brat, don't think that you can kill the young master of the Blood Skull Pirates without anyone knowing. Let me tell you, my young master has a curse power on him. Whoever kills him will be affected by the curse power. Even if you run to the end of the world, you won't be able to escape from our hands." The burly man sneered. Lu Ming was enlightened. As it turned out, it wasn't that someone had survived. Instead, it was that young master's curse power that had landed on him. That was how the Blood Skull Pirates had recognized him. However, why couldn't he feel the curse power at all? It seemed that he had to check his body carefully when he had time. "Brat, do you understand now? How dare you kill the Blood Skull Pirates and swagger around? You're courting death. Kill them." The burly man gave the order. Book Guest House Reading Website. Chapter 3843. As soon as the burly man gave the order, all of the Blood Skull Pirates in the vicinity began to clamor. "Kill? This brat is mine. That chick is mine." The eyes of the Blood Skull Pirates shone with a fiery light as they brandished their weapons and charged at Lu Ming's group. As long as they killed Lu Ming's group, they would definitely be rewarded by the Blood Skull Pirates' leader. How could they not be excited? They roared as they charged at Lu Ming's group, as if Lu Ming's group were lambs waiting to be slaughtered. In the eyes of these people, Lu Ming and the other two were indeed lambs waiting to be slaughtered. Their cultivation was below the Divine Emperor level, and there were more than 100 people from the Blood Skull Pirate team present. Among these people there were more than 30 quasi-emperors. The others were all 9th and 8th level Divine Lords. With so many of them working together, killing Lu Ming's group would be a piece of cake. But in reality, Lu Ming's group was not lambs waiting to be slaughtered. They were ferocious tigers. Shio. Lu Ming made his move. A long sword condensed at his fingertips. As the sword vibrated, rays of sword light flew out. It was too fast. It was so fast that many people couldn't react in time. Boom, boom, boom. Blood splattered everywhere. In an instant, dozens of Blood Skull Pirates were stabbed in the forehead by the sword light. They fell to the ground and died on the spot. These people, whether they were quasi-emperors, 9th level Divine Lords, or 8th level Divine Lords, were all the same. None of them could block Lu Ming's sword light. At the same time, Ling Yue and Xiao Wuji made their moves. Ling Yue flicked her finger and emerald green arrows flew out. Just like Lu Ming's sword light, every arrow was capable of taking the lives of the Blood Skull Pirates. Xiao Wuji's eyes emitted wisps of dark light. With a flash of the dark light, a large number of Blood Skull Pirates were killed. In the blink of an eye, only a dozen or so of the Blood Skull Pirate group's members survived. The remaining people were stunned. Around them, those who were watching from afar were also stunned. So many experts were killed in the blink of an eye. As for Lu Ming and the other two, their cultivation bases were not at the Divine Emperor realm. Monster. The same thought flashed through everyone's mind. These three people must be peerless monsters. Otherwise, their strength would not be so shocking. All of you are courting death. At this time, the burly man finally reacted and let out a hysterical roar. A terrifying aura burst out from his body. Shenhuang. That tall and sturdy man had the strength of the first godly emperor layer. At the same time, the other members of the Blood Skull Pirate group also unleashed their powerful auras. They were all divine emperors. There were 4 cultivators of the first godly emperor layer. That was not all. Even further away, a few powerful auras erupted. Then a few figures stepped through the air and came over. Those people were obviously from the Blood Skull Pirate group, and they were even stronger. They had the strength of the second godly emperor layer. Obviously, those people had a higher status. Therefore, they had stayed far away and had no intention of getting involved. However, when they saw that Lu Ming and the other two had killed over 100 members of the Blood Skull Pirate group, they could not sit still anymore. They all rushed over. There were 3 cultivators of the second godly emperor layer and 4 cultivators of the first godly emperor layer. They surrounded Lu Ming and the other two. It's over. Those 3 young men and women are doomed. They provoked the Blood Skull Pirate Group. The Blood Skull Pirate Group is one of the top 10 pirate groups. They are extremely strong, but why are they here? Could it be because of Black Sand Planet? In the distance, many people were discussing secretly. They were all astonished. The Blood Skull Pirate Group was one of the top 10 pirate groups. They were famous throughout the universe. They had plundered the world. Logically speaking, such a terrifying pirate group should only appear in the relatively wealthy star fields. Why would they come to a remote place like the Sandstratum star field? The only explanation was the soul jade of Black Sand Planet. Let's attack together. Let's get rid of these people quickly and get out of here, said Ling Yue. It's a good opportunity to exercise. Leave that guy to me, said Xiao Wuji, smiling icily. His silhouette flickered and he threw himself at a fat old man. That fat old man was one of the 3 cultivators of the second godly emperor layer of the Blood Skull Pirate Group. Many people were astonished. When Xiao Wuji attacked, they could see that he was a quasi-emperor layer cultivator. A quasi-emperor dared attack a cultivator of the second godly emperor layer? Was there something wrong with his head? Did he want to die? But what surprised them even more was what happened next. Lu Ming and Ling Yue also attacked a cultivator of the second godly emperor layer. Boom. Lu Ming used his battle formula to increase his fighting strength by 5 times. At the same time, he used his great godly wind technique and punched a cultivator of the second godly emperor layer. As soon as Lu Ming struck, his terrifying power made the cultivator of the second divine emperor realm turn pale. With a roar, he took out a huge hammer and smashed it at Lu Ming with all his might. Dong, dong, dong. Rumbling sounds spread in the air. The cultivator of the second godly emperor layer trembled violently and was pushed backwards, coughing up blood. Several cracks appeared on the sledgehammer in his hand. Impossible. The cultivator of the second godly emperor layer was astonished. He thought he was in a dream. After fighting against Lu Ming, he could clearly sense that Lu Ming only had the strength of the 8th godly emperor layer. A cultivator of the 8th godly emperor layer had fought against him and injured him. How was that possible? Crazy. This world has gone crazy. But Lu Ming didn't give him the chance to sigh. He released a terrifying strength and threw himself at him. At the same time, Lu Ming's gravity pearl shone and a powerful gravitational force surrounded his opponent. Lu Ming didn't use his gravity pearl because he was afraid people would recognize it. But even if he didn't use it, Lu Ming could still release a powerful gravitational force. Under the pressure of the gravity pearl, the other party's body trembled. Lu Ming, on the other hand, had already charged past him. The violent force tore apart the other party's defense. The other party screamed miserably as his body was torn into pieces and he died on the spot. On the other side, a green arrow streaked across the sky and pierced through a cultivator of the second godly emperor layer, killing him instantly. Xiao Wuji's situation was even simpler. He grabbed the fat old man and tore him in 2. Even his soul was taken away by Xiao Wuji. The surrounding people were completely dumbfounded and confused. What had they just seen? 3 young people who hadn't even broken through to the godly emperor layer had killed 3 cultivators of the second godly emperor layer? Not only could they fight against cultivators who were much stronger than them, but they could also fight against cultivators who were much stronger than them? Monstrous, a peerless monstrous genius. Otherwise, how could he have such powerful combat strength? Chapter 3844. Everybody was dumbstruck. They knew that this time, it wasn't Lu Ming who had kicked an iron plate, it was the Blood Skull Pirates who had kicked an iron plate. Run. The remaining 4 godly emperors of the first godly emperor layer and a few quasi-emperors of the Blood Skull Pirates were terrified. They came back to their senses and started running away. They were scared to death. How terrifying. Cultivators of the second godly emperor layer had been killed so easily. How could they be killed so easily? You want to run? Ling Yue looked furious. When she thought about the Blood Skull Pirates, she was furious. She wanted to kill them. At this moment, he knocked an arrow on his bow and shot out several arrows. A few quasi-emperors were pierced by the arrows and died. Even a cultivator of the first godly emperor layer was pierced by the arrows and died in midair. Leave them to me. Xiao Wuji grinned. His eyes were filled with murder. He rose up in the air, and a few gloomy lights emerged from his hands and flew towards the cultivators of the first godly emperor layer. Leave one alive, shouted Lu Ming. He rose up in the air and threw himself at the tall and sturdy man who had talked to them at the beginning. 2 horrible shrieks spread in the air. The other two cultivators of the first godly emperor layer had already been killed by Xiao Wuji. Back in the days, the Purple Sun Prefecture was strong enough to kill ordinary cultivators of the first godly emperor layer. The Purple Sun Prefecture was only a little famous among the quasi-emperors of the primitive universe. They were far from being on the list of the top 100 quasi-emperors. Xiao Wuji was even stronger than Xueming, who was ranked 11th. He could easily kill ordinary cultivators of the first godly emperor layer. Killing cultivators of the second godly emperor layer wasn't difficult either. Even for Ling Yue and Lu Ming, it was not difficult to kill an ordinary second-level divine emperor realm expert. Just now was proof. Only the tall and sturdy man was left in the Blood Skull Pirates. He was running away as fast as he could, burning his godly strength to increase his speed. Unfortunately, he wasn't as strong as Lu Ming. Under the support of the Great God Wind technique, Lu Ming was like a ghost. With a few flashes he caught up with the burly man. "I'll kill you." The burly man saw that he couldn't escape, so he simply stopped. He roared and slashed his saber towards Lu Ming. Clang! Lu Ming threw a punch at the battle saber. With a cracking sound, the battle saber broke into pieces. The burly big shot screamed miserably. His arms exploded as he retreated rapidly. "Mercy, please spare my life." The burly man suddenly roared and began to beg for mercy. Seeing that he was about to be killed, the burly man was scared to death. He didn't care about his dignity anymore. "Hee, leaving behind a coward, my luck is not bad." Lu Ming laughed in his heart, but his hands did not stop. He punched the tall and sturdy big mountain. The tall and sturdy big mountain was heavily injured, and his aura withered. "Spare my life," the burly man continued to shout. "Now what will you answer when I ask you a question? Cooperate with me and I won't kill you." Lu Ming stared at the tall and sturdy big mountain. Okay, I'll tell you everything. I'll tell you everything." The tall and sturdy big mountain shouted. The consequences of betraying the Blood Skull Pirates were very serious. However, he couldn't care less now. At worst, he would just find a remote place to hide. "Let me ask you, how did you find me? Is it the curse power you mentioned? Can you track the curse power?" Lu Ming asked the first question. This was the question he was most concerned about. If the Blood Skull Pirates could track the curse power, he would have endless trouble in the future. "No, we can't track the curse power. We only found you when we ran into you. If we didn't run into you, we wouldn't have found you." The tall and sturdy big mountain answered quickly. Hearing the tall and sturdy big mountain's answer, Lu Ming heaved a sigh of relief. The tall and sturdy big mountain couldn't track him. They had just run into the Blood Skull Pirates. It could only be said that his luck wasn't very good. The universe was vast and boundless, but he had run into the Blood Skull Pirates here. "What are you people from the Blood Skull Pirates doing here?" Lu Ming continued to ask. "We're here to attack the Black Sand planet of the Lingheng sect and seize some soul jades," the tall and sturdy big mountain replied. "With just the few of you?" Lu Ming expressed his doubts. "Of course not. We're just one of the groups. The real main force is still behind us and will arrive soon. There are many experts in the main force. People like me are nothing at all," the tall and sturdy big mountain replied. He didn't forget to brag about the Blood Skull Pirates, and there was a hint of threat in his words. The meaning was very simple. The main force of the Blood Skull Pirates would arrive soon. There were many experts and you'd better let me go quickly. Otherwise it wouldn't be good for you. After saying that, the tall and sturdy big mountain looked at Lu Ming nervously. Scram! Lu Ming waved his hand and let go of the tall and sturdy big mountain. The tall and sturdy big mountain was overjoyed and hurriedly flew into the distance. At the same time his mind became active. Before he only had one thought, and that was to stabilize Lu Ming and protect his life. As for whether he would be retaliated by the Blood Skull Pirates later on, he didn't care. But now that Lu Ming had let him go, his thoughts changed. He thought that he would go back and bring the Blood Skull Pirates to kill Lu Ming, Ling Yue, and Xiao Wuji to make up for his mistakes. "Brat, just wait for your death." The tall and sturdy big mountain's eyes flashed with a trace of ferocious killing intent. Bang! At this moment, an arrow pierced through the back of the tall and sturdy big mountain's head. The tall and sturdy big mountain's eyes widened, filled with unwillingness. Then, his vitality was cut off and he fell to the ground. "I said that I wouldn't make a move, but I didn't say that others wouldn't," Lu Ming muttered. Ling Yue and Xiao Wuji smiled faintly. The one who made a move just now was naturally Ling Yue. They were all smart people. When Lu Ming said that he wouldn't make a move, they understood what Lu Ming meant. "It seems that the Blood Skull Pirates are going to attack Black Sand Star. Let's just sit on the mountain and watch the tigers fight," Lu Ming said. Ling Yue and Xiao Wuji nodded. Perhaps they could take advantage of the chaos to enter the medium-class world of Black Sand Star. The three of them didn't stay and quickly left. Of course, the rumors about the three of them quickly spread. However, the attention of the people in this area was mostly attracted by the Blood Skull Pirates. Lu Ming and the other two could only be said to be three peerless monsters who accidentally wandered here. However, the large-scale appearance of the Blood Skull Pirates here was related to their lives. Lu Ming and the other two found a small city to stay in and paid close attention to the situation of Black Sand Star. The Blood Skull Pirates seemed to know that they had been exposed and sped up their movements. In a few days they rushed to Black Sand Star and launched an attack. However, not long after, a piece of news spread out. The Blood Skull Pirates retreated in defeat and suffered heavy injuries in the process of attacking Black Sand Star. Chapter 38:45. When the Blood Skull Pirates attacked Black Sand Planet, they suffered heavy losses. The Lingheng sect had long been prepared. They had ambushed a large number of experts on Black Sand Planet to kill the Blood Skull Pirates. The Blood Skull Pirates had suffered heavy losses. It was said that dozens of divine emperors had died and fled in a sorry state. When Lu Ming, Ling Yue and Xiao Wuji heard this news, they secretly rejoiced that they didn't act rashly. The strength of the Lingheng sect was still above their imagination. They definitely couldn't attack by force, but they still had a chance. Every once in a while, the Lingheng sect would recruit a group of people to enter the medium-class world of Black Sand Planet to hunt soul beasts and obtain soul jades. The next recruitment was said to be in 2 years. 2 years was just a blink of an eye to everyone. Lu Ming and the other two stayed on this small planet, constantly paying attention to the news of the Lingheng sect and Black Sand Planet. Lu Ming naturally wouldn't waste these 2 years. He chose a secret place and wholeheartedly cultivated the great art of fragmentation. Ling Yue and Xiao Wuji also went into seclusion, looking forward to improving their battle prowess. The matter of exploring the Life Spirit Heavenly Court would definitely not be smooth sailing. One's own battle prowess was very important. Every bit that could be raised was a bit. While Lu Ming was comprehending the great art of fragmentation with all his might, time flew by. In the blink of an eye, 2 years had passed. Without the environment where he cultivated the great God Wind technique, his improvement naturally wouldn't be that fast. However, it still allowed the great art of fragmentation to improve by a large margin. He wasn't too far away from the entry level. If he used it with Lu Ming's full strength, his strength would also increase by quite a bit. At this time, Lu Ming, Ling Yue and Xiao Wuji came out of seclusion and headed towards Black Sand Planet together. Black Sand Planet, Evil Soul City. It was very lively with a sea of people. That medium-class world was called the Evil Soul Realm. Therefore, the city built next to it was called the Evil Soul City. Entering the Evil Soul Realm to hunt soul beasts and obtain soul jades, one could keep 30% of them. This was a great temptation and naturally attracted many people. At the registration point there was a long line. Let me tell you all, the Evil Soul Realm isn't a safe place. Without a certain level of strength, it's very dangerous to enter. Therefore, it's best to have a cultivation of 7th level Divine Lord and above go in. Only then can you have some gains. However, if you are confident in yourselves and insist on entering, we will not stop you. You are responsible for your own life and death. At the registration counter, a burly man shouted loudly. Those whose cultivation bases were too weak hesitated for a moment before deciding to give up. However, more people chose to continue. Register your names and cultivation bases, and then line up in the square inside. The brawny man continued to shout. One by one the registration was done very quickly. Soon it was Lu Ming and the others' turn. Naturally they casually made up a fake name. After all, the people of the Lingheng sect wouldn't investigate. After registering, Lu Ming and the others went to a square in the back and waited quietly. After a few hours, there were already a few thousand people in the square. You guys come with us first. At this moment a group of people arrived. Each of them had a strong aura. They were experts of the Lingheng sect. Lu Ming and the others followed the experts of the Lingheng sect and left the Evil Soul City. They headed north of the Evil Soul City and soon arrived at a huge canyon. Many experts. Lu Ming secretly sensed and discovered that there were many experts lying in ambush around the canyon. Among them there was no lack of Divine Emperor Realm experts. He knew that they were all experts of the Lingheng sect. Walking into the valley, when they reached the depths of the valley, they saw a huge whirlpool. Lu Ming, Ling Yue and Xiao Wuji's eyes flashed. This was the entrance to the Evil Soul Realm, right? Was this Evil Soul Realm the target they were looking for? Was it a treasure land left behind by the Life Spirit Heavenly Court? Let's go in. An old man from the Lingheng sect announced. Swoosh, 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 thousands of experts moved. They turned into streaks of rainbow light and rushed into the whirlpool. Lu Ming and the other two blended into the crowd and also rushed into the whirlpool and disappeared. In the next moment, Lu Ming and the others arrived at a strange world. This world was dark. In the sky there was a blood moon scattering blood-red light. Heaven and earth were filled with a strange energy. This energy was not divine chi but more like the energy of the soul. Let's go and find spirit beasts. Hurry up, not every spirit beast has a soul jade. We need to rely on luck. Many people flew into the distance. Of course, most of these people formed groups of 3 or 5 and formed teams. There was also a portion of people who did not move, because these people had not formed a team yet. In the evil soul realm, forming a team to hunt spirit beasts and obtain soul jades was much more efficient than fighting alone. Brother, let's form a team. Come with me, I'm at the first layer of the Divine Emperor realm. The rest of the people also began to form teams. Of course, some Divine Emperor realm people were easy to form teams. Many people joined one after another. Soon, a team was formed and discussed the distribution method. The 3 of you, are you interested in forming a team? At that moment, a bald old man came over, glanced at Lu Ming and the others and smiled. This bald old man did not hide his chi, he was at the first layer of the Divine Emperor realm. Not interested. Ling Yue directly refused. The bald old man's face stiffened and said, "The 3 of you, I can see that you have not reached the Divine Emperor realm. It is not safe in the evil soul realm. There are many Divine Emperor realm spirit beasts. Without the protection of a Divine Emperor realm expert, you will not be able to move an inch." The bald old man thought that Lu Ming and the others were young people who had come out to gain experience. They did not understand the dangers of the outside world. No need, the 3 of us are strong enough. Please go ahead. Xiao Wuji waved his hand and smiled. A newborn calf is not afraid of a tiger. Don't regret it when you encounter danger. The bald old man snorted coldly. With a wave of his sleeve, he returned to his group and left with his people. So what's the plan? Ling Yue looked at Lu Ming and Xiao Wuji. I don't have a plan. Lu Ming spread his hands. I don't have a plan for now. Let's walk around this world first. Xiao Wuji said. Then the 3 of them randomly chose a direction and flew away. The evil soul realm was a medium-class world. Its territory was very vast. Compared to a small world, it was many times bigger and more stable. After the 3 of them flew for a while, the number of people gradually decreased. Rumble. Suddenly the ground shook and exploded. A few giant tentacles stretched out and swept towards the 3 of them. Spirit beast. Quasi-emperor. The 3 of them were startled. Whoosh. Lu Ming made his move. A sword light condensed at the tip of his finger and slashed out. The sword light flashed and the tentacles were cut in half. Then the sword light changed its direction and slashed towards the ground. Book Guest House Reading Website. Chapter 3846. Lu Ming slashed the ground with his sword, creating a deep pit that was a few hundred miles long. It was unknown how deep it was. A scream came from the ground and blue blood splattered. A huge octopus-like spirit beast was cut in half by the sword and died on the spot. Lu Ming's eyes moved and he reached out his hand to grab the air. Below, a crystal the size of an egg was caught by Lu Ming. The crystal was crystal clear like a blue crystal. Is this the soul jade? Lu Ming murmured. This was a good thing. Lu Ming kept it. Next they continued to move forward. From time to time they would be attacked by spirit beasts. However, the strength of these spirit beasts was not very high. Most of them were below the Divine Emperor realm. They only met one at the first layer of the Divine Emperor realm. It was not a threat to them and was easily dealt with. A few hours later they had already traveled an unknown distance. Suddenly, a divine light flashed in front of them. More than 10 figures flew towards Lu Ming and the others. In the blink of an eye they arrived beside Lu Ming and the others, surrounding Lu Ming and the others. These guys, Lu Ming and the others' eyes flashed as they recognized these people. These people, like them, had just come in from outside to hunt spirit beasts. They also recognized one of them. It was the bald old man who had invited Lu Ming and the others to form a team, but was rejected by Lu Ming and the others. Ah, it's really these guys. Our luck is good. These people surrounded Lu Ming and the rest, laughing heartily. Their expressions were playful and relaxed. What do you want? Ling Yue frowned slightly and said coldly. Nothing, I just want your storage rings, and the treasures you have hidden in your divine sense. The bald man said, his eyes flashing with greed. He concluded that Lu Ming and the others were just young disciples of some force who had come out to train. Such people were usually very rich. In fact, when he invited Lu Ming and the others to form a team, he had the idea of dealing with Lu Ming and the others halfway, but he didn't expect to be rejected. However, they were very lucky to meet Lu Ming and the others here. He didn't hesitate to take action. "Are you sure you want to rob us?" Ling Yue asked again. "Nonsense, hurry up and hand it over. I might spare your lives," the bald old man shouted. "I'm afraid that even if we hand over all the treasures, you won't let us go," Lu Ming interrupted. As if Lu Ming had guessed what was on his mind, the bald old man and said, "Since you have guessed it, then I'll tell you. You guys are unlucky to meet us. Cooperate obediently, and I'll leave your corpses intact." Indeed, he had no intention of letting Lu Ming off. Since Lu Ming and the rest were disciples from powerful forces, they naturally had to silence them. After robbing them, if they did not silence them, would they wait for revenge? How was that possible? "You really don't know what's good for you." At this moment, Lu Ming, Ling Yue, and Xiao Wuji's eyes flashed with killing intent. They had long seen that there were only 2 people in the bald old man's group who were at the first Divine Emperor realm. The rest were below the Divine Emperor realm. In the eyes of Lu Ming and the others, such combat strength was nothing. With such strength they dared to deal with them. If they weren't courting death, then what was? Roar, roar, roar. Just as Lu Ming and the others were about to make a move, there was a violent roar in the surroundings. Rumble. At the same time, there was a rumbling sound on the ground. It was as if thousands of soldiers and horses were rushing towards them. The speed was very fast. The sound seemed to be quite far away, but soon it was very close. Between heaven and earth, there was a mass of darkness. In the air and on the ground, there were countless giant beasts flying and rampaging. Spirit beasts, all of them were spirit beasts. There were spirit beasts in all directions, and some of them were constantly drilling out from the ground. "Beast tide, it's a beast tide." Someone in the bald old man's group was panic-stricken and shouted loudly. The others were the same. Their complexions were deathly pale, and they were incomparably frightened. Their faces were filled with fear. They had heard of the spirit beasts, beast tide. It was the spirit beasts of the evil spirit world who had joined forces to retaliate against invaders like them. However, beast tides were extremely rare. Normally they wouldn't encounter one. They hadn't thought that they would encounter one now. "Look at the number of spirit beasts, it should be a small-scale beast tide. Let's join forces and attack in one direction, we might be able to survive," shouted the bald old man. At this moment they didn't care about Lu Ming and the others. Compared to treasures, their lives were more important. More than 10 of them teamed up and charged towards the back because there seemed to be fewer soul beasts behind them. "Die!" the bald old man roared as he struck out with his palm. A terrifying palm print that could topple mountains and overturn seas blasted towards the group of soul beasts. Another cultivator of the first Divine Emperor realm also attacked with his full strength. His sword chi was like a rainbow as it slashed forward. More than a dozen cultivators below the Divine Emperor realm also attacked with their full strength. Their attacks were so powerful that they were like rainbows. Bang bang, many soul beasts exploded and were killed on the spot. The bald old man and the others were overjoyed. If this continued, they would be able to escape. Keep going, the bald old man roared, wanting to motivate everyone to charge out in one go. But before he could finish his sentence, he was stuck. Because a few terrifying roars had spread in the air. A few gigantic beasts had appeared and were moving towards the bald old man and the others. Godly emperors, they were all godly emperors. There were 5 of them. The 5 godly emperors were roaring and their bodies were glowing. 5 dazzling rays of light moved towards the bald old man and the others. "Stop them!" shouted the bald old man. He used his full strength to release a dazzling light hand. The other cultivator of the first godly emperor realm also used his full strength to release a sword attack. The others also used their full strength to help the 2 godly emperors block the attack. Boom! The 2 sides' attacks collided and the earth rumbled. The bald old man and the others' attacks were destroyed. Some of the weaker cultivators gave horrible shrieks and exploded. Their souls had been destroyed. Even though the stronger cultivators didn't die, they were severely injured and coughed up blood. Their chi was extremely weak. The bald old man and the other cultivator of the first godly emperor realm were also shaken. Blood was flowing out of their mouths. They couldn't compete with the 5 godly emperor realm soul beasts. But what made them even more desperate was that there were terrifying roars coming from all directions. Then a terrifying chi rose up in the air. All of them were godly emperors. There were godly emperor realm soul beasts everywhere. There was more than 1 soul beast in each direction. There were 4 or 5 soul beasts in each direction. They were surrounded. The bald old man and the others were desperate. They were going to die. Translator, Transin Editor, Transin. Chapter 38-47. The bald old man and the others were in despair. They were going to die in the face of so many strong spirit beasts. They had no chance of surviving. Brr, brr. The spirit beasts roared. Some spirit beasts charged towards Lu Ming and the others. Terrifying attacks moved towards Lu Ming and the others. Clang. A sword gleam condensed in Lu Ming's hand, emitting a sword cry. With a sweep, a crescent moon sword gleam swept in all directions, breaking all the attacks of the soul beasts. Die! Shouted Xiao Wuji coldly. He waved his hand and black rays of light shot out. In a flash, dozens of spirit beasts died at Xiao Wuji's hands. After killing so many spirit beasts, he had successfully attracted the attention of the godly emperor spirit beasts. A gigantic blue bird with two heads flew towards Lu Ming and the others. It opened its mouth and released a beam of blue light towards Lu Ming and the others. A godly emperor spirit beast's attack was not to be underestimated. It was much stronger than a godly emperor. However, ordinary cultivators of the first godly emperor layer didn't pose a threat to Lu Ming and the others. Ling Yue condensed a bow in her palm, drew her bow and shot out an arrow. An arrow rushed up, directly breaking through the two-headed bird's attack. The arrow did not stop, piercing through the two-headed bird's head. With a bang, the two-headed bird's head exploded, and it died on the spot. The bald old man and the others were stupefied. Their eyes were wide open. A godly emperor spirit beast had been killed by an arrow. What kind of fighting strength was that? Such fighting strength was simply too terrifying. The bald old man determined that the fighting strength of the strange two-headed bird from earlier was absolutely not inferior to his own. If that arrow had been aimed at him, then he would have. Thinking of this, the bald old man shuddered and felt a chill run down his spine. Brr, brr. Seeing that a divine emperor realm spirit beast had been killed, the rest of the spirit beasts were enraged and roared. At least a dozen divine emperor realm wild beasts rushed towards Lu Ming's group, leaving the bald old man and the others to the side. Let's fight, let's fight. It's best if both sides are injured so that we can take the opportunity to rush out. The bald old man and the others viciously thought. More than 10 divine emperor realm spirit beasts attacked at the same time. Their power was terrifying. A huge explosion occurred in the void. Terrifying attacks came from all directions, attacking Lu Ming, Ling Yue and Xiao Wuji. You're courting death. The eyes of Lu Ming and the other two were filled with coldness as they attacked at the same time. Lu Ming activated the battle esoteric art and increased his combat power by 5 times. He dashed toward the few divine emperor realm soul beasts and punched continuously with both fists. The terrifying fist force tore through the void and blasted toward the few soul beasts. The spirit beasts' attacks were torn apart by Lu Ming's fist energy. The fist energy didn't stop and bombarded the spirit beasts. The spirit beasts cried out in pain as their bodies were penetrated by the fist energy. They were torn apart and died on the spot. Lu Ming grabbed a few soul jades in his hand. On the other side, Ling Yue shot a few arrows and killed a few divine emperor realm spirit beasts. As for Xiao Wuji, he easily killed a few divine emperor realm spirit beasts. More than a dozen god king soul beasts were killed in an instant. The bald old man and the others' eyes almost popped out of their sockets. Their mouths were opened so wide that they could swallow a few goose eggs. Shock, disbelief, disbelief, it was written all over their faces. Those were divine emperor realm spirit beasts. How could they be killed so easily? It was as easy as slaughtering a chicken. They thought that they were dreaming. Monsters. These 3 people were all peerless monsters. They were all monsters. Then they felt a chill in their hearts and chills ran down their spines. Previously, they actually wanted to rob these 3 monsters and kill them? They were courting death. They were completely courting death. The surrounding spirit beasts were terrified when they saw more than 10 divine emperor realm spirit beasts being killed. There was an uproar. Roar, roar. After that, the remaining soul beasts roared. Then the remaining soul beasts all turned around and ran away. They were actually running away. These spirit beasts were also very intelligent. They knew that they were no match for Lu Ming and the others, so they naturally retreated. In an instant, all the spirit beasts ran away. Go, go quickly. Seeing that the desolate beasts had retreated, the bald old man and the others didn't dare to stay any longer. They immediately wanted to sneak away. Where are you going? Ling Yue's face was gloomy as her cold voice sounded. The bald old man and the others immediately shivered and stopped. They didn't dare to move. What a joke. They had clearly seen Lu Ming and the others' methods. Even if they escaped, they wouldn't be able to escape. There was only death. Their faces were extremely ugly. They looked at Lu Ming and the other 2 with fear. Sirs, we were blind just now. Please forgive us, sirs. The bald old man squeezed out a smile that was uglier than crying. He bowed to Lu Ming and the other two. You wanted to kill us just now and now you want us to spare you? Aren't you too naive? Ling Yue said coldly. She was about to attack and kill these people. Wait a minute. Lu Ming called out. Ling Yue stopped and looked at Lu Ming with some doubt. Could it be that Lu Ming's heart softened and he wanted to let these people go? This person can be killed but the others can stay. They can help us scout the way. Lu Ming explained. Ling Yue and Xiao Wuji's eyes lit up. That's right, if they had to search by themselves, how long would it take? If they found more people to search together, it would be much faster. As for the bald old man, he was the main culprit. Naturally, he deserved to die and couldn't be let go. Hearing Lu Ming's words, the others were overjoyed and quickly distanced themselves from the bald old man. The bald old man's face was extremely ugly. At this moment, his heart was filled with regret. If he had known that Lu Ming and the other two were so monstrous, he definitely wouldn't have provoked Lu Ming and the other two. However, there was no medicine for regret. Regret was already useless. However, he was absolutely unwilling to die obediently. A trace of viciousness flashed across the bald old man's eyes. He suddenly rushed in a direction. It was the direction of his group. In the blink of an eye, he had rushed into the group of people. He grabbed a few people with both hands and threw them towards Lu Ming and the other two. As for himself, he pushed his speed to the limit and rushed in a direction. You're courting death, Lu Ming said coldly. Using the Great God Wind technique, he caught up to the bald old man in a flash. With another flash, he had already appeared in front of the bald old man. The bald old man cried out in fright. Then he attacked with all his might. A divine light palm print blasted towards Lu Ming. Boom! Lu Ming threw a punch. The bald elder's divine light giant handprint, which he had used all his strength to attack, collapsed immediately. The fist force did not stop and bombarded the elder's body. The bald elder screamed miserably and his body was torn into pieces. Even his soul exploded. Is this the difference? Just an 8th level divine lord. What kind of monster is this? This was the bald old man's last thought. Book Guest House Reading Website. Chapter 38-48. After Lu Ming killed the bald old man in one move, the remaining people didn't dare to move. Their faces were pale with fright. The moment they made a move, the gap between them was even more obvious. Lu Ming and the other two were too monstrous. They looked at Lu Ming and the other two in horror, waiting helplessly for their fate to befall them. They didn't know how Lu Ming and the other two would deal with them. Now, there's something I need you to do. Lu Ming glanced at the crowd and said in an unquestionable tone. Just give us the order. We will never refuse. Yes, just give us the order. We will definitely do it properly. Those people nodded and bowed, promising that they couldn't wait to dig out their hearts for Lu Ming to see. At the moment of life and death, how could they refuse? No matter what conditions Lu Ming set, they had to grit their teeth and agree. I want you to help me find some special places in the evil spirit realm. For example, some special buildings, some special places, Lu Ming instructed. Okay, we promise to complete the task. Those people didn't expect Lu Ming to ask them to do something so simple. They quickly nodded, afraid that they would be a step slower and cause Lu Ming to be unhappy. Of course, before you go, there's one more step, following which Lu Ming waved his fingers and many runes were formed. They then flew toward these people. These people were shocked and wanted to dodge, but they didn't dare. They could only watch as the runes flew into their bodies and disappeared. This is a soul-severing restriction. If you dare to escape with a thought, your souls will be destroyed and you will die without a burial place. Alright, you can go. If there's any news, send me a message. Lu Ming waved his hand casually. Those people sighed in their hearts and could only help Lu Ming and the others. Originally, some of them really had that thought. After leaving Lu Ming and the others, they would run away. But now they didn't dare to. Everyone cupped their fists and turned into rays of light, leaving this place. Is that rune really a soul-severing restriction? Why do I look so simple? Ling Yue asked curiously. She had a very deep understanding of the Tao of restriction runes, so she naturally saw something. It's fake. What soul-severing restriction? It's just to scare them. Lu Ming smiled. Brother Mu's wisdom is admirable. Xiao Wuji Dao. It's just a small trick. However, we can still use this trick to find more people to help us. Lu Ming said. That's right. At least it's faster than the three of us searching. Ling Yue and Xiao Wuji naturally agreed. After that, they began to move. As long as they encountered people who came in to hunt soul beasts, they would immediately take them down. They pretended to set up restrictions so that these people could help them find a special building or location. Not long after, they found more than 200 people to help them search. With more than 200 people scattered in all directions, their efficiency was naturally much faster than the three of them. Not long after, they received news that they had made a discovery. They rushed over according to the news and found a dilapidated palace. They went in and searched but found nothing. After that, more news came and they all made some discoveries. However, when Lu Ming and the others went to investigate, they found nothing. This made the three of them wonder if this middle world was a treasure land left behind by the Life Spirit Heavenly Court. There's news again. It's in the north. Lu Ming received another piece of news. Let's go take a look. The three of them were naturally unwilling to give up so easily and flew towards the north. The three of them were extremely fast. Their bodies were engraved with teleportation arrays, and they flew through the air. In a few flashes, they had crossed a distance of hundreds of millions of miles. A majestic mountain appeared in front of them. At the foot of the mountain, there was an ancient blue stone road. At the end of the ancient road was a huge stone door that led to the belly of the mountain. As soon as they arrived, Lu Ming and the others immediately sensed something. To be precise, it was their life spirit origin stone fragments that had sensed something. They were trembling slightly and radiating light. It's here, it's here. This place must be related to the Life Spirit Heavenly Court. The stone spirit of the Life Spirit origin stone fragments cried out excitedly. Ling Yue and Xiao Wuji's eyes also lit up. Obviously they had all sensed it at the same time. That's right, it's here. This world is indeed a treasure land left behind by the Life Spirit Heavenly Court. There must be treasures in this mountain, and even clues to the 9 Life Spirit halls. Xiao Wuji's eyes lit up. Let's go in. Ling Yue's eyes also flickered. The three of them flew forward and arrived in front of the ancient bluestone road, intending to pass through it. But suddenly, densely packed runes appeared on the ground. A large array emerged and shrouded Lu Ming and the other two. Haha, I've been waiting here for 30 million years. I've finally arrived. A carefree laugh rang out, and then a figure appeared in the air. It was a middle-aged man who looked to be in his 40s. He was tall and sturdy and his eyes shone brightly. A powerful aura spread out from this person's body. It was as deep as the sea, unfathomable. Lu Ming, Ling Yue, and Xiao Wuji's expressions changed drastically. There was actually someone here. Peng Peng, the middle-aged man, walked in the air, and every step he took caused the void to tremble. The great array below also responded to the middle-aged man's steps, and the light became even brighter. Swoosh! Ling Yue directly drew her bow and shot out an arrow, wanting to break through the great array. However, the great array lit up, and layers of divine light enveloped the arrow. The arrow disappeared without a trace, like mud sinking into the sea. Don't waste your time. I have to admit that your attack power is very strong, but in my great array, you won't be able to come out. The middle-aged man sneered. This great array was set up? Ling Yue asked. I already said that it's my great array. The middle-aged man said. Who is it? Lu Ming asked. There's no harm in telling you. I was the one who created the Lingheng sect. The middle-aged man smiled. It's the sect master of the Lingheng sect? Ling Yue exclaimed. She didn't expect the other party to be the sect master of the Lingheng sect. Where did the fragments of the Life Spirit Origin Stone on me come from? Lu Ming continued to ask. That's right, this middle-aged man also had fragments of the Life Spirit Origin Stone on him. Lu Ming and the other two had sensed this when the middle-aged man appeared. This was also what made them even more shocked. Here, a middle-aged man suddenly ran out and set up a great array to trap them. Moreover, he actually had fragments of the Life Spirit Origin Stone on him. This seemed to be very complicated. The fragments of the Life Spirit Origin Stone on me were naturally obtained by me. The middle-aged man, who was also the sect master of the Lingheng sect, said with a faint smile. Chapter 3849. You got it yourself? As far as I know, the Life Spirit Origin Stone fragment will only choose young geniuses. Ling Yue said. The Life Spirit Origin Stone fragment would only choose young geniuses, and those monstrous geniuses at that. Whether it was Lu Ming, Ling Yue, Xiao Wuji, or the previous Xueming and Murong Qiushui, they were all top geniuses of the universe. Why would the Life Spirit Origin Stone fragment choose such an old person? Everyone has a time when they are young. The sect master of the Lingheng sect said indifferently. Lu Ming, Ling Yue, and Xiao Wuji were shocked. These words reminded them that they had overlooked a problem. Yes, the Life Spirit Origin Stone fragment would choose a young monster, but who made the rule that it was a monster of this era? A monster of the previous era was also fine. Perhaps, Some of the life spirit origin stone fragments had already appeared and were chosen by the monstrous geniuses from a long time ago. And those monstrous geniuses were no longer young. It was normal for them to become middle-aged and old. For example, the sect master of the Lingheng sect in front of them might have been a monstrous genius when he was young, which was why he obtained the life spirit origin stone fragment. The hearts of Lu Ming and the other two sank. If it was that kind of monstrous genius, then what realm would his cultivation have reached after so many years? It wasn't something they could fight against, right? Haha, you believe me just because I said that? Seeing your expressions, it's really laughable. The sect master of the Lingheng sect laughed loudly. After a while he said, "You're right. The life spirit origin stone fragment will only choose monstrous geniuses, but I'm not. The life spirit origin stone fragment on me was snatched from a young genius back then. I spent a lot of effort and finally controlled that life spirit origin stone fragment and found out the secret of this place being the treasure land of the life spirit heavenly court. Therefore, 30 million years ago, I established the Lingheng sect here and controlled this world. Unfortunately, this mountain is a treasure land left behind by the life soul heavenly court. I can't enter with just a piece of the life soul origin stone fragment. Therefore, I set up a formation here and waited here for the owner of the life soul fragment to come. I've been waiting for 30 million years. Finally there are 3 of them. Aha, I can finally enter the treasure land of the life spirit heavenly court. The treasures in the treasure land of the life spirit heavenly court are mine. There are even 9 life spirit palaces." The sect master of the Lingheng sect laughed loudly. The more he laughed, the more excited he became. The more he laughed, the more his eyes shone. 3 of them came at once, which was really out of his expectations. Lu Ming, Ling Yue and Xiao Wuji's faces were incomparably gloomy. The doubts in their hearts were finally answered. They finally knew why a force would occupy a remote place like the Sandlayer star field. It was deliberately created by the sect master of the Lingheng sect. His goal was to control the evil spirit world in his hands. In the past, everyone thought that the Lingheng sect was doing it for the soul jade of the evil spirit world. Now, Lu Ming and the others understood that the enemy was doing it for the treasure land left behind by the life spirit heavenly court. The other party had established the Lingheng sect here and occupied the evil spirit world. The sect master of the Lingheng sect had long found this mountain, but unfortunately he couldn't enter. That was why he had set up a formation here and waited here. As for recruiting people to hunt soul beasts in the evil spirit world every once in a while, it seemed that it was all a trap. The goal was to attract the controller of the life soul origin stone fragment. With the control of the life soul origin stone fragment, if one wanted to find the treasure land of the life spirit heavenly court, they would definitely sneak into the evil spirit world and then search for the treasure land of the life spirit heavenly court, just like Lu Ming and the others. The sect master of the Lingheng sect had planned everything and waited here for the rabbit. As for Lu Ming and the others, they had unknowingly been tricked. This kind of guy who had lived for a long time had an extraordinary mind and was very terrifying. The reason why I told you is so that you can die with understanding. Now, hand over the life soul origin stone fragment on your body and I can give you a quick death. The sect master of the Lingheng sect said loudly. He was very confident. He had the right to be confident. He could already tell that Lu Ming and the other 2 were at the quasi-emperor realm at the highest. As for him, he was already at the 6th level of the divine emperor realm. No matter how monstrous Lu Ming and the other 2 were, they were no match for him. "Looks like there's going to be a tough battle today," Xiao Wuji whispered. "Let's attack together and break this formation first," Ling Yue said. The 3 of them nodded and transmitted their voices to each other, reaching a consensus. Swoosh. The 3 of them attacked at the same time, attacking towards the left. In an instant, Lu Ming activated the battle character art, increasing his battle strength by 5 times. At the same time he used the Great Divine Wind technique. Boom, boom. Lu Ming used his full strength and threw a punch. A terrifying fist chi moved forwards, bringing with it a terrifying hurricane. The sky kept exploding. Everything was about to collapse, but the deployment spell was dazzling and dazzling. Godly lights moved towards Lu Ming's punch. Boom boom boom. The sound of an explosion reverberated through the sky. Lu Ming's fist force was forcefully neutralized. At the same time Ling Yue and Xiao Wuji also attacked, using their full strength. Even a cultivator of the 2nd godly emperor realm would be killed, but it was useless. Their attacks were blocked by the deployment spell. Powerful, truly powerful. I have to say that the 3 of you are able to possess such combat strength at such a cultivation level. It really frightens me. However, the 3 of you are still too weak. You won't be able to walk out of my great formation. Today your fate has already been decided. smiled the patriarch of the Lingheng sect coldly. His body was glowing and his godly strength was surging. He controlled the deployment spell. Attack! Shouted Ling Yue. Behind her, a gigantic tree appeared. Green lights penetrated into her body. She was holding a gigantic bow. Her strength condensed and turned into a green arrow. Swoosh! The green arrow was 10 meters long. It pierced through the sky and left a terrifying mark. Great godly wind technique, great destruction technique. Lu Ming used his full strength and threw a punch. That punch contained the strength of the great godly wind technique and the great destruction technique. Two types of ancient secret techniques converged, forming a destructive power that wrapped around the emerald green arrow and shot forward. Azura's light. Xiao Wuji transformed into his three-headed, six-armed form. A vertical eye opened between the eyebrows of each of his three heads. Each vertical eye emitted a jet black light. The three rays of light merged into one and wrapped around the emerald green arrow. The attacks of the three gathered together and collided with the godly light formed by the formation. Boom boom boom. Rumbling sounds spread in all directions. The arrow was like a hot knife cutting through butter. It kept breaking the deployment spell strength. The patriarch of the Lingheng sect's expression suddenly changed. Lu Ming and the other two's attacks were beyond his expectations. How terrifying. They haven't even broken through to the godly emperor realm, but they're already so terrifying. We can't let them go. Crush them! Shouted the patriarch of the Lingheng sect furiously. He pressed his hands down. Chapter 3850. The patriarch of the Lingheng sect pressed his hands down, and a vast amount of godly strength poured into the deployment spell. The deployment spell's godly light became even more vast and boundless. It kept attacking Lu Ming and the other two. Lu Ming and the other two's attacks kept shaking. Their energy was being consumed again and again. Again? Shouted Ling Yue. She spat out a mouthful of blood on the bow in her hand. The bow released a terrifying wave of energy, and a blood-red, emerald arrow condensed in the air. Ball? Lu Ming's heart shook and he called Ball to help. Ball moved rapidly and turned into an armor, covering Lu Ming's body. At the same time, a silver spear appeared in Lu Ming's hand. Bzzz. The spear shook and a dazzling silver light shot out. Behind Xiao Wuji, a 99-headed Azura king with 999 arms appeared. Azura lights emerged from the 99 heads' foreheads. This time the attacks were even more terrifying. Especially Ball's silver spear, it was even more terrifying. When Ball attacked with his full strength, he could kill cultivators of the fourth godly emperor layer. This time the three people's attacks were unstoppable. They kept breaking the deployment spell's godly light, and the deployment spell's godly light kept exploding. In the end, a tunnel appeared. Let's go! Lu Ming shouted loudly. His body transformed into a beam of light and he dashed through the passageway, leaving the range of the array. Ling Yue and Xiao Wuji's speed was also very fast. They also turned into streaks of light. With a flash, they also left the range of the formation and appeared outside the formation. The two of them glanced at Lu Ming. They were astonished. They hadn't thought that Lu Ming would have such a trump card. Boom. At that moment, a terrifying pressure pressed down on Lu Ming and the other two. Lu Ming and the other two moved back to block the pressure. It was the patriarch of the Lingheng sect. He appeared in the sky above Lu Ming and the other two, releasing a monstrous pressure. What a powerful metallic creature. The sect leader of the Lingheng sect stared at Qiu on Lu Ming's body. A hint of shock and greed flashed across his eyes. So what if you can break the formation? Do you think you can escape from me? The sect master of the Lingheng sect sneered. He was still very confident. With his strength he could control the entire situation. All of you kneel. The sect master of the Lingheng sect struck out with his palm. A gigantic palm print pressed down on Lu Ming and the other two like a majestic mountain. Rumble. The palm pressed down, shattering the void. The scene was shocking. Lu Ming and the other two tried their best to resist, but they were unable to do so. As the palm struck down, the three of them retreated. Lu Ming was a little better off. With Qiu's armor protecting him, he only felt his blood and qi churning as a trace of blood seeped out from the corner of his mouth. However, Ling Yue and Xiao Wuji had also suffered heavy injuries and vomited large mouthfuls of blood. After all, the difference between them and the sect master of the Spirit Hung sect was too great. The other party had only casually struck them with a palm and they had suffered heavy injuries. If he used his full strength he would definitely be able to turn them into ashes. In front of absolute strength, no matter how talented you are, you won't be able to withstand a single blow. Obediently hand over your life soul origin stone fragments. Also, hand over the physique secret techniques that you cultivate and the 3,000 ancient secret techniques. The sect master of the Lingheng sect said, the greed in his eyes becoming even stronger. The reason why he didn't kill Lu Ming and the other two immediately was because he had taken a fancy to the various secret techniques and treasures that the three of them possessed. Especially Lu Ming, who the sect master of the Lingheng sect paid the most attention to. He was merely an 8th level divine lord, but his combat strength was heaven-defying. He was completely on the same level as Ling Yue and Xiao Wuji. Moreover, he had mastered 2 of the 3,000 ancient secret techniques. He had to obtain them. Although the 3,000 ancient secret techniques were said to be very difficult to cultivate, how would he know if he hadn't cultivated them before? Moreover, even if he couldn't cultivate them himself, some people would be interested and sell them for a sky-high price. This was the reason why he didn't use his full strength. Lu Ming's face darkened as he quickly thought of a countermeasure. The sect master of the Lingheng sect was too strong. Even with Qiu Qiu's help, he was definitely not the other party's match. If the other party attacked, he and Qiu Qiu would both die. Right now he only had 2 trump cards. One was the Gale Pearl. The Gale Pearl contained a terrifying gale. With his current comprehension of the Great Divine Wind technique, he could definitely draw out a portion of the gale. However, he wasn't sure how strong it was and whether he could deal with the sect master of the Lingheng sect. The other was to take the risk to open the purple copper coffin. He originally didn't want to expose too much in front of Ling Yue and Xiao Wuji. After all, he didn't trust Ling Yue and Xiao Wuji very much. He needed to keep a trump card. But now that he was facing a life-and-death crisis, he couldn't care less about this. He had to deal with the sect master of the Lingheng sect first. Do you really think that we're done for? Just as Lu Ming was hesitating, a cold voice sounded. It came from Ling Yue. At this moment, the huge warbow in Ling Yue's hand disappeared. Replacing it was a small warbow. This warbow wasn't big. It was only a meter long and looked very old. The most eye-catching thing was that there was a pool of blood on it. This bloodstain looked fresh, as if it had just been sprinkled with fresh blood. However, there was a terrifying aura emanating from it. Lu Ming and Xiao Wuji both had grave expressions on their faces. The blood on this warbow was definitely left on it by a terrifying existence. I'll let you have a taste of the power of the Elven King's bow. Ling Yue opened her mouth and then suddenly pulled the bowstring. In an instant, it was as if the entire world was shaking. Then it was as if all the energy in the world was gathering towards the warbow. A bloody arrow condensed and aimed at the sect master of the Lingheng sect. This is... The sect master of the Lingheng sect's pupils suddenly constricted. He felt all the hair on his body stand on end. He felt a great terror enveloping him. Retreat, retreat. The sect master of the Lingheng sect retreated without hesitation. Swoosh. Ling Yue let go of her hand and the bloody arrow flew out. Fast, it was really too fast. It was so fast that the sect master of the Lingheng sect didn't have time to dodge. In an instant, the arrow appeared in front of the sect master of the Lingheng sect. The sect master of the Lingheng sect roared. His cultivation of the 6th level of the Divine Emperor realm completely erupted. Terrifying divine power erupted from the sect master of the Lingheng sect like an avalanche. It was as if a sun had exploded. The entire medium-class world shook violently. Eternal Heaven Finger. The sect master of the Lingheng sect pointed out a finger. A gray finger was incomparably huge. It pointed forward and collided with the arrow shot by Ling Yue. An explosion that seemed to shake the heavens and earth rang out. Terrifying energy swept out in all directions. Bang. In the end, the finger that the sect master of the Lingheng sect attacked with was actually pierced through by the arrow. The terrifying arrow didn't stop and continued to shoot forward. In the next moment, blood splattered in all directions. The sect master of the Lingheng sect's body was pierced through by the arrow. Chapter 3851. The sect master of the Lingheng sect was directly pierced by the arrow. With a blood-curdling scream, his body explosively retreated. A huge bloody hole appeared in his chest. The destructive power of the arrow was constantly destroying his body, obliterating his life force. The sect master of the Lingheng sect's aura instantly became very dispirited. You're courting death. I want you to die without a burial ground. The sect master of the Lingheng sect roared in anger, but he didn't dare to stay. His figure explosively retreated, leaving this place at an astonishing speed. At this moment, Ling Yue's delicate body trembled and she spat out a mouthful of blood. Her face was snow white. Are you all right? Lu Ming looked at Ling Yue and asked. I'm fine. It's just that the arrow just now consumed too much energy. I'll be able to recover very soon. Ling Yue nodded and glanced at Xiao Wuji meaningfully. She put away the Elven King's bow that was stained with blood, took out a divine pill that was like a small tree and swallowed it. Immediately, a powerful fluctuation came from her body, and her aura quickly recovered. At the side, Xiao Wuji's gaze swept across Lu Ming's body. There was an inexplicable smile on his face the entire time, and he didn't say anything. A moment later, Ling Yue's aura calmed down. Clearly she had recovered a lot. Let's hurry up and set off. I'm afraid the sect master of the Ling Heng sect won't let this go so easily. Xiao Wuji said. Let's go. Lu Ming, Ling Yue and Xiao Wuji followed the ancient bluestone road and headed towards the stone door at the bottom of the mountain. However, when they stepped onto the ancient bluestone road, figures suddenly appeared on both sides of the road. These figures were not real. Their bodies were illusory like phantoms. Their eyes were filled with ghostly flames as they stared at Lu Ming and the other two. On both sides of the ancient bluestone road, there were a total of 108 phantoms. Kill, kill, kill. These phantoms shouted in unison. Their killing intent soared into the sky as they charged towards Lu Ming and the other two. Their palms condensed all sorts of weapons. They looked illusory, but when they waved them, their might was terrifying, directly shattering space. At the same time, at least 20 attacks rushed towards Lu Ming. Lu Ming used his great divine wind technique, and his figure rapidly flashed, dodging 15 attacks. But the remaining attacks were beyond the scope of Lu Ming's ability, and he could only take them head-on. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Lu Ming stabbed out 8 times in a row. 8 moonlight spear lights burst out, and the remaining 8 attacks were blocked. After blocking this wave of attacks, Lu Ming's figure flashed, and the moonlight spear continued to thrust out. Those illusory figures were continuously pierced, and their bodies exploded. However, as soon as these phantoms exploded, they gathered together again, but they were much dimmer than before. Its energy is constantly weakening. It's not hard to deal with. Lu Ming's heart stirred and he continued to attack. He integrated the great fragmentation art into the moonlight spear. Bang, bang. All of a sudden more than 10 phantoms were shattered. This time, the power of the great fragmentation art was activated, and these phantoms were shattered into countless pieces. A portion of them barely managed to condense, but some of them were unable to condense and completely disappeared. Lu Ming's spirit was greatly shaken, and his attacks became even more violent. There were constantly phantoms that were completely destroyed. In a moment, more than 30 phantoms were destroyed by Lu Ming. However, Lu Ming had such speed because of Qiu. He cooperated with Qiu to have such a record. Xiao Wuji and Ling Yue, on the other hand, didn't have such a record. The speed at which they destroyed the phantoms was much slower. Lu Ming destroyed 30 phantoms, and the two of them combined only destroyed 20. There were still more than 50 phantoms left, and Lu Ming and the others destroyed them much faster. Lu Ming and the other two attacked with all their might. Those phantoms were destroyed one by one, and very soon there were only a dozen left. At this moment, the void in all directions began to tremble violently, like ripples in water. Then one figure after another suddenly appeared. The densely packed figures enveloped the sky in all directions. Their powerful auras shook the world. One of them was the sect master of the Lingheng sect who had been injured and fled in a sorry state. Needless to say, the people he had brought were all experts of the Lingheng sect. Among them, there were quite a few divine Emperor realm existences. Kill those 3 little bastards for me. The sect master of the Lingheng sect roared as he stared at Lu Ming and the other two. Flames burst out from his eyes as if he wanted to burn the 3 of them to ashes. Charge in. Lu Ming shouted as his silver spear swept across the army. In an instant, 6 phantoms were destroyed. Ling Yue and Xiao Wuji also attacked with all their might. They destroyed a few phantoms and headed towards the stone door at the bottom of the mountain. When they arrived here, the life spirit origin stone fragments in their bodies reacted even more violently. They had a feeling that with the life spirit origin stone fragments, they could open this stone door. Only by entering this stone door would they have a chance. Otherwise, with so many experts of the Lingheng sect, they would be in danger. Even if they had hidden their trump cards. They were very fast and approached the stone door in the blink of an eye. Kill? The experts of the Lingheng sect roared as their killing intent soared into the sky. Especially a few divine Emperor realm existences. Their speed was extremely fast as they charged towards Lu Ming and the others like a few streaks of light. However, they didn't charge forward along the ancient bluestone road. They charged towards Lu Ming and the others from the side. However, when they approached the mountain, their bodies suddenly froze. Their faces were filled with fear. Then with a bang their bodies turned into ashes. Their bodies and souls were destroyed and disappeared into thin air. When the others saw this scene, they were almost scared out of their wits. Some people who were charging forward crazily erupted with divine power and forcefully stopped their bodies. When Lu Ming and the other two saw this scene, they were also secretly shocked. Fortunately, they had walked along the ancient bluestone road from the beginning. It wasn't without reason that they had left this road here. Other than the ancient bluestone road, the surroundings of this mountain were filled with terrifying killing intent. Charge in from that ancient bluestone road and kill them. The sect master of the Lingheng sect roared. The people of the Lingheng sect immediately changed their direction and charged towards Lu Ming and the others along the ancient bluestone road. They were completely fine and there were no illusions to stop them. However, at this moment, Lu Ming and the other two had already arrived under the stone door. As soon as they arrived under the stone door, the fragments of the life spirit origin stone in their bodies trembled even more violently. They directly flew out of their bodies and shot out a beam of light towards the stone door. Lu Ming glanced at it. He discovered that Ling Yue's life spirit origin stone fragment was about the same size as his. It should have been formed by fusing with Xue Ming's piece. What was shocking was that Xiao Wuji's life spirit origin stone fragment was slightly larger than Lu Ming's or Ling Yue's. It was likely that he had fused with several life spirit origin stone fragments to have such a volume. The three beams of light landed on the stone door. The stone door immediately shook and a resplendent light appeared. Then with a cracking sound it separated to the sides. Chapter 38:52. The stone door was opened. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. After the stone door was opened, waves of cold wind immediately blew out from inside. Moreover, waves of strange roars came from inside the stone door. It was as if countless vengeful spirits were roaring. It made people feel a chill down their spines when they heard it. In the next moment, Lu Ming, Ling Yue and Xiao Wuji's expressions changed drastically. The reason for that was because they saw countless figures rushing out from the depths of the stone gate. These figures looked the same as the phantoms they had encountered before, but they were more solid and their auras were even more terrifying. They all let out strange cries and rushed over at an extremely fast speed. We're in trouble. Lu Ming and the other two's faces were somewhat gloomy. There were people from the Lingheng sect behind them, and there were so many strange creatures in front of them. They were in trouble. We can only risk it. The three of them were all peerless monsters, so they naturally wouldn't give up so easily. Even if they were in a desperate situation, they had to risk it. The three of them were about to fight with all their might, but something unexpected happened. Their life spirit origin stone fragments appeared above their heads, scattering a layer of light that enveloped them. Those strange creatures rushed past them as if they didn't see them. They ignored their existence and directly rushed towards the experts of the Lingheng sect. These strange creatures let out terrifying roars and continued to attack. Immediately, some of the experts of the Lingheng sect were torn apart. Block it. The experts of the Lingheng sect roared. A powerful divine emperor made a move to block these strange creatures. However, there were also many powerful divine emperor realm existences among these strange creatures. They charged forward without fear of death. The people of the Lingheng sect were completely at a disadvantage and were surrounded by the strange creatures. What was even more frightening was that there were still countless strange creatures rushing out from the stone door. Run! Someone from the Lingheng sect roared in fear. He turned around and left, but these strange creatures chased after him from behind as if they wouldn't stop until they died. However, the sect master of the Lingheng sect wasn't attacked. There was also a fragment of a life spirit origin stone floating on his body, scattering a ray of light. Those strange creatures didn't attack him. Kill! The sect master of the Lingheng sect attacked with all his might, wanting to destroy those strange creatures. However, although he was powerful and had destroyed some of the strange creatures, there were too many of them. It was impossible to kill them all. Go! At this moment, Lu Ming and the other two rushed towards the stone door. It seemed that the natal spirit stone fragment was their protective talisman here. The three of them rushed through the stone door and found that the space inside was very spacious. It was a huge underground secret room. There were many passageways around the secret chamber, each of which had the same strange creature rushing out. Stop right there. Seeing Lu Ming and the other two rush into the stone door, the sect master of the Spirit Heng sect roared and rushed into the stone door alone. His eyes were filled with cold killing intent as he looked at Lu Ming and the other two. Previously, he had been pierced through by Ling Yue's arrow and was severely injured. However, he had already stabilized himself. Although he was not at his peak, he still retained a very strong battle prowess. Little girl, that arrow of yours from before should have cost you a lot, right? I don't believe that you can shoot a second arrow. The sect master of the Spirit Hung sect stared at Ling Yue with a ferocious expression. He was very scheming and could easily figure out what was going on. Ling Yue's previous arrow had borrowed the power of the bloody battle bow. However, Ling Yue's cultivation was only very high, she was only a quasi-emperor. To be able to shoot that arrow, she had definitely paid a huge price. It was almost impossible for her to shoot a second arrow. That was why he had the confidence to chase after her. Ling Yue's expression was somewhat ugly. She was indeed unable to shoot a second arrow. If she forcefully used it, the consequences would be very serious. It was very likely that her foundation would be crippled. The three of us don't split up. Let's follow a passage. Ling Yue transmitted her voice. Let's go. Lu Ming and Xiao Wuji nodded and rushed towards one of the passageways with all their might. You want to leave? Stay. When the sect leader of the Ling Heng sect saw Lu Ming and the other two leave, he was relieved. He thought that Lu Ming and the other two really did not have any trump cards left and chased after them with all his might. The passageway was very deep and there were still many strange creatures. Fortunately, these strange creatures did not attack them, so they were unimpeded and their speed was very fast. However, the sect leader of the Ling Heng sect was still rapidly approaching. Kill? The sect leader of the Ling Heng sect shouted and pointed a few times in the air. A few streams of energy shot towards Lu Ming and the other two. He still had some misgivings and did not dare to get too close. He tested Lu Ming and the other two from afar. Facing Lu Ming, Ling Yue and Xiao Wuji, these three terrifying monsters, he really did not have confidence in his heart. Ling Yue had such a terrifying trump card, but what about Lu Ming and Xiao Wuji? Therefore he planned to test it out from a distance. If something was wrong, he could quickly escape. Lu Ming brandished his silver spear, thrusting out a resplendent spear light. Ling Yue and Xiao Wuji also attacked with all their might, blocking the sect leader of the Ling Heng sect. With the help of the sect leader of the Ling Heng sect, they rushed forward at an even faster speed. After a while, they reached the end of the passageway. It was also a secret chamber. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. In the secret chamber, there were no longer any strange creatures. However, there were streams of light constantly dancing in the air. No, these were not streams of light but treasures. There were divine sabers, divine swords, long spears, mirrors. Every single one of the treasures emitted a shocking wave of energy. They were definitely rare treasures, and their grades were all above the emperor-level divine weapon. The eyes of Lu Ming and the other two revealed a resplendent light. As for the sect leader of the Ling Heng sect, his eyes were filled with burning greed. You three little bastards, go to hell. The sect leader of the Ling Heng sect roared, his killing intent surging like a tide. The killing intent in his heart was stimulated to the peak by these treasures. In his opinion, these treasures were all his. This was only one of the passageways. Were there any other treasures in the other passageways? If he obtained these treasures, how much would his strength expand to? How many resources could he exchange for? In the future, it would not be impossible for him to break through to the Divine Emperor realm. He suppressed the scruples in his heart and pounced towards Lu Ming and the other two. His attacks were like crazy. Streams of finger energy pierced through the void and attacked the vital points of Lu Ming and the other two. Facing the attack of the sect leader of the Ling Heng sect, Lu Ming and the other two could only counterattack with all their might. Lu Ming became one with his spear, transforming into a resplendent spear light that pierced towards the sect leader of the Ling Heng sect. However, the sect leader of the Ling Heng sect pointed out a finger, and the tip of his finger touched the silver spear. The spear trembled incessantly and Lu Ming retreated. He felt his entire body tremble and several of his bones were broken. On the other side, Ling Yue and Xiao Wuji also coughed up blood and retreated. Although the sect leader of the Ling Heng sect had been injured by Ling Yue earlier, his strength had been affected and he was not in his peak condition. However, the sect leader of the Ling Heng sect was, after all, an existence of the sixth layer of the Divine Emperor realm. His strength was too terrifying, and it was not something that the three of them could contend against. Chapter 38-53. Kill. Seeing that he had injured Lu Ming and the other two with one strike, the sect master of the Spirit Heng sect was filled with fighting spirit. His aura became even more terrifying, causing the secret room to rumble. He used his left hand as a palm and his right hand as a finger as he used a terrifying secret technique. The palm print and finger energy alternated as they crushed towards Lu Ming and the other two. He used 70% of his strength in this move. He didn't dare to unleash his full strength in an instant. He left a portion of his strength as a defense, afraid that Ling Yue would use another terrifying killing move. However, even if it was 70% of his strength, it wasn't something that Lu Ming and the other two could contend against. Lu Ming might not die with Qiu Qiu's defense, but he would still be severely injured. As for Xiao Wuji and Ling Yue, they would probably die immediately. You two, what trump cards do you have? Why aren't you using them? Ling Yue called out to Lu Ming and Xiao Wuji. Come on. Xiao Wuji's eyes flashed with a ruthless light. A broken sword suddenly appeared in his hand. Only the hilt was missing the tip of the sword. The sword was pitch black, but it emitted a terrifying aura. It was as if there was a terrifying existence hidden within the sword. Slash! Xiao Wuji shouted. All the divine power in his body surged into the broken sword. Then he slashed out with all his might. Brr! Suddenly a terrifying roar rang out. A figure suddenly rushed out from the broken sword. This figure was an Azura king with 99 heads and 999 arms. Kill! The Azura king shouted. Its huge body filled the secret room. With the Azura sword in its hand, it slashed towards the sect master of the Spirit Hung sect. The sect master of the Spirit Hung sect's pupils constricted as he felt a terrifying killing intent. It was as if this sword could take his life. Moreover, he was completely locked onto by this killing intent. There was no way to dodge and he could only take it head-on. Damn it! The sect master of the Spirit Hung sect roared in his heart. As expected, he still had a trump card. These monsters still had a trump card. Right now, there was only one path in front of him, and that was to block it. He believed that Xiao Wuji could only use one move of such a terrifying attack. It was impossible for him to use a second move. As long as he could block this attack, victory would be his. Several divine weapons appeared around his body, emitting dazzling light as they rushed toward the Shura king. At the same time, he unleashed his most powerful secret technique. A finger materialized and he pointed it out. Boom! A series of explosions erupted. The few divine weapons that the sect master of the Ling Heng sect had taken out were directly cut in half by the Shura sword. Immediately after, the finger that he had condensed with a secret technique was also cut in half. Not good. The expression of the sect master of the Ling Heng sect changed drastically. This Azura sword was too terrifying. Its power was even stronger than the arrow Ling Yue had shot earlier. The sect master of the Ling Heng sect roared crazily. His divine power surged as he defended with all his might. But the moment the battle sword slashed down, Ling Heng sect's sect leader cried out in pain. His body retreated and he crashed into the wall of the secret room. The walls here were abnormally sturdy, so they didn't shatter at all. Instead, they only exploded with loud rumbling sounds. The sect master of the Ling Heng sect coughed up large mouthfuls of blood, and his face was abnormally pale. A sword wound appeared on his body. It started from his shoulder, followed his chest, and extended all the way to his waist. That arrow had almost cut him in half. The terrifying power of the Azura sword had destroyed the organs in his body and even affected his soul. In his dantian, the burning star had dimmed. This move was even more severe than the arrow that Ling Yue had shot him with. Damned little bastard, if you didn't kill me, then the ones who will die will be you, the sect master of the Ling Heng sect roared. His killing intent had reached its peak. He swore in his heart that he would make Lu Ming and the other two beg for death and suffer the most painful torture in the world. However, the next voice made him feel like he had fallen into an ice cellar, and his body turned cold. Is that so? I haven't attacked yet. Lu Ming's cold voice rang out as a round bead appeared in his palm. Gale bead. Then Lu Ming used the Great Divine Wind technique. Inside the gale bead, a terrifying gale was instantly drawn out by Lu Ming. Whoosh whoosh. The violent and scorching gale seemed to have transformed into a gale dragon. It let out a terrifying howl as it swept towards the sect master of the Ling Heng sect. The sect master of the Ling Heng sect had just been injured by Xiao Wuji. Moreover, Lu Ming's timing was flawless. He had no time to dodge at all and was instantly swept into the gale. Puff puff puff. The terrifying gale instantly cut numerous wounds on the body of the sect master of the Ling Heng sect. Moreover, each wound had a terrifying temperature. The body of the sect master of the Ling Heng sect was filled with raging flames. Ah! The sect master of the Ling Heng sect screamed miserably. Although he circulated his divine power with all his might to block it, he couldn't block it at all. The gale of the gale bead was extremely terrifying. It was left behind by an existence that could destroy the galaxy. Its power was too shocking. The gale directly broke through the divine power of the sect master of the Ling Heng sect and broke into his body. He watched helplessly as his body was continuously sliced apart and burned to ashes. In just a few breaths, the body of the sect master of the Ling Heng sect could not hold on any longer and turned into ashes. His soul appeared and wanted to rush out. However, he discovered that his soul was even more fragile. I can't accept this, I can't accept this. The sect master of the Ling Heng sect let out a furious and unwilling roar. He had always been scheming and had planned for tens of millions of years. He had been waiting here for the controller of the Life Spirit Stone Fragment to come so that he could seize more Life Spirit Stone Fragments and monopolize the treasures of the Life Spirit Heavenly Court. Everything went very smoothly. As expected, the person he had been waiting for had arrived. But in the end, the few people he had been waiting for were too monstrous and too terrifying. With his cultivation, he was actually no match for these monstrous geniuses. He was unwilling to accept this. But the outcome was already decided. In the next moment, his soul was also turned into ashes in the gale. The sect master of the Ling Heng sect, who could be considered an ambitious and ruthless figure, fell just like that under the continuous attacks of three peerless geniuses. However, the Life Spirit Stone Fragment left behind by the sect master of the Ling Heng sect was not destroyed. In fact, although the gale was terrifying, it definitely could not destroy the Life Spirit Stone Fragment. It could not even leave the slightest bit of damage. Lu Ming reached out and grabbed the Life Spirit Stone Fragment in his hand. Xiao Wuji let out a long breath and took a few steps back. His aura was weak and his face was pale. He hurriedly put away the broken sword. Obviously, just like the arrow that Ling Yue had shot before, after Xiao Wuji slashed out with his sword, he had consumed a lot of energy, causing a huge burden on his body. He glanced at the Life Spirit Stone Fragment in Lu Ming's hand and didn't say anything. Instead, he took out a divine pill and swallowed it, beginning to recover. Ling Yue also looked at the Life Spirit Stone Fragment in Lu Ming's hand. A complicated look flashed across her eyes, but in the end, she didn't say anything. Chapter 38:54. Swallow him for me. Lu Ming's Life Spirit Origin Stone Fragment, the Rock Spirit, cried out in excitement. Lu Ming didn't immediately give it to the Life Spirit Origin Stone, the Rock Spirit sized it up. The Life Spirit Origin Stone Fragment left behind by the Spirit Heng sect's sect master was much smaller than Lu Ming's. It was about the same as the Life Spirit Origin Stone Fragment that he had before fusing with Murong Qiu Shui. It should only be a small piece. With a thought, Lu Ming put away the Life Spirit Origin Stone Fragment. Facing Ling Yue and Xiao Wuji, he was very confident. Now that Qiu Qiu could make a move, with his cooperation, his battle strength was completely above Xiao Wuji and Ling Yue. Of course, Ling Yue and Xiao Wuji had terrifying trump cards, but so did Lu Ming. The Gale Pearl was won, and at the critical moment, there was the purple copper coffin. After Lu Ming put away the Life Spirit Origin Stone Fragment, the three of them looked at the flying treasures in the sky, their eyes shining brightly. Shwa shwa shwa, the three of them moved at the same time, rushing out and pouncing towards the weapons. Lu Ming was the first to pounce on a long spear. Although he had a forbidden body, all kinds of secret techniques could be turned into secret technique runes and fused into his cells. It was the same for any weapon he used. However, he still had a special feeling for long spears, so his first choice was a long spear-type divine weapon. Lu Ming grabbed at a fiery red long spear, but this long spear was very slippery. In a flash, like a long snake, it flew out of Lu Ming's palm. "Wanna leave? Stay for me?" Lu Ming shouted in his heart. His palm glowed and immediately, several trapping secret techniques were used, trapping the fiery red long spear. The fiery red long spear tried to rush left and right, but it couldn't rush out. Lu Ming exerted his strength and the forbidden power enveloped the fiery red long spear. On the fiery red long spear, there was a layer of light covering it, but at this moment, this layer of light was destroyed by the forbidden power. After it was destroyed, the long spear stopped moving. Lu Ming grabbed it and put it into his storage ring. Then Lu Ming pounced on the next weapon. In this secret chamber, there were about a dozen weapons which were quickly plundered clean by the three of them. Lu Ming obtained a total of 5 divine weapons, all of which were of very high levels. Although they were not as good as the gravity orb, they were still very valuable. Ling Yue and Xiao Wuji had also gained a lot. Everyone's faces revealed smiles. Although this trip was a little unexpected and the sect master of the Ling Heng sect had changed, it was still worth it. The three of them sized up the secret chamber. There were no other passageways in this secret chamber. This was the end. However, there were other secret rooms. The three of them moved along the passage and returned to the largest secret chamber at the beginning. At this moment, there were no longer any strange creatures here. All the strange creatures had already rushed out of the door. Outside the door, there were still intense shouts of killing. Clearly, the strange creatures and the people of the Lingheng sect were still fighting. However, no one was able to rush in. "Let's split up," Xiao Wuji said. "All right. Split up." Lu Ming and Ling Yue also nodded. Now that the sect master of the Lingheng sect had been eliminated by them, no one else came in. There was no need for them to gather together. Splitting up and obtaining their own opportunities was the most important thing. With a flash, the three of them chose a passage and rushed in. A moment later, Lu Ming passed through a passage and arrived at the end of the passage. At the end of the passage was also a secret chamber. However, this secret chamber was much smaller than the secret chamber where he had obtained the divine weapon. There were no treasures flying around either. There were only some miscellaneous boxes piled up there. Lu Ming walked over and casually opened a box. He found that there were some jade talismans inside. Lu Ming picked up a jade talisman and scanned it with his spiritual sense. He revealed a trace of disappointment. The jade talisman only recorded a method to refine divine pills. Moreover, it wasn't of a particularly high level and could be bought outside. Lu Ming was currently focusing on cultivation, so he didn't have the time or energy to cultivate the Tao of Alchemy. In the Minor Thousand World, Lu Ming was proficient in the Tao of Alchemy. However, the Tao of Alchemy in the Minor Thousand World was too different from the divine pills in the Great Desolate Universe. Lu Ming couldn't be bothered to spend time studying it. Next, Lu Ming picked up the remaining jade talismans and looked through them one by one. Unfortunately, they were all knowledge related to alchemy and weren't of much use. Lu Ming reluctantly put it away. He would give it away when he had the chance. After all, he still had family and friends. Perhaps some of them could use it. Then Lu Ming continued to look through the second box. Inside there were still some methods to refine divine pills. 3 consecutive boxes were all jade talismans used to refine divine pills. From the 4th box onwards, there were some jade talismans used to refine divine weapons. Just like the Tao of Alchemy, they were also useless. Lu Ming kept them all in a storage ring. The 5th, and 6th boxes were all about the same. However, when Lu Ming opened the 7th box, his eyes lit up. There were also some jade talismans in this box, but these jade talismans recorded secret techniques. There were different secret techniques. Each jade talisman recorded a secret technique. The last few boxes recorded all kinds of secret techniques. There were hundreds of them. Lu Ming was overjoyed. Finally, there were things that were of great use to him. However, there was no time to look at them carefully now. Lu Ming kept them all. He would slowly look through them when he had time. After putting them away, the secret chamber was already empty. Lu Ming left the secret chamber and returned to the secret chamber outside. Then he rushed to another passage. Behind this passage was another secret chamber. In this secret chamber, there were also several divine weapons flying in the air. Lu Ming was overjoyed. His figure flashed and kept these divine weapons one by one. There were a total of 6 divine weapons. Adding the previous 5, he had a total of 11 high-grade divine weapons. Each divine weapon was priceless. They could be sold for a sky-high price outside. This treasure land left behind by the Fate Heavenly Court was indeed worthy of its reputation. This was only a treasure land. One could imagine how many treasures there were in the 9 great Life Soul Halls and the most important Life Soul Heavenly Court. Lu Ming left this place and hurried to the next passageway. It was a pity that the secret chamber at the end of this passageway was empty. Could it be that Ling Yue and Xiao Wuji have already gotten there first? Lu Ming's heart stirred. He quickly left this passage and entered the next one. Unfortunately, it was still the same. It was empty. There was nothing. Lu Ming reckoned that Ling Yue or Xiao Wuji had really gotten there first. After all, there were only about 10 passages here. Suddenly, Lu Ming heard a rumbling sound coming from the middle of the passage. Although it seemed to be very far away, Lu Ming could still clearly see it. Someone is making a move in this passage. Lu Ming's heart stirred as he guessed who it was. Suddenly, a figure flashed out from another passage. It was Ling Yue. Chapter 38:55. In another passageway, Ling Yue's figure appeared. The moment Ling Yue appeared, she also sensed that there were sounds of fighting coming from the depths of the middle passageway. Lu Ming and Ling Yue looked at each other and nodded silently. Then the two of them rushed towards the middle passageway at the same time. When they arrived at the end of the passageway, they discovered that it was also a secret room. However, this secret room was extremely large. It was close to the outermost secret room. In this secret room there were 9 steps. On each step there was a platform, and on each platform there was a large seal floating. The color of each seal was different. Some were red, some were green, and some were white. Every seal was enveloped by a layer of light. As for Xiao Wuji, he was on one of the platforms, constantly attacking the light barrier outside the seal. emitting a violent rumbling sound. This was the sound that Lu Ming and the others had heard just now. The moment Lu Ming and Ling Yue arrived, Xiao Wuji sensed them. The seal here should have clues to the 9 Great Soul Palaces. However, there are restrictions protecting it, so it's very difficult for one person to break through. We need to work together. Xiao Wuji's voice rang out. Lu Ming and Ling Yue sneered. Why didn't Xiao Wuji send a sound transmission to Lu Ming and Ling Yue to ask them to join hands? At this moment, seeing that Lu Ming and Ling Yue had arrived, they had joined hands. It was obvious that if possible, Xiao Wuji wanted to take it all for himself. Let's try the other seals first. Ling Yue directly rushed towards the other seal. Before she even arrived, arrows were continuously shot out. Bang bang bang, one arrow after another struck the light barrier outside the seal. The light barrier only shook violently, but it did not break. Ling Yue shouted and shot out her strongest arrow. Unfortunately, it still did not break through. It seemed that what Xiao Wuji said was true. It was indeed difficult for a single person to break through, unless they used their trump card. However, the consumption of trump cards was too great, so it was not suitable to use them now. Let's attack together. If there really are clues to the 9 Great Soul Palaces, we will naturally share them. We will need to work together to explore the Soul Palace later. Xiao Wuji Dao. Ling Yue could only nod her head with a gloomy face and head towards Xiao Wuji's platform. Lu Ming also stepped onto Xiao Wuji's platform. The 3 of them surrounded the seal. It was blue in color like a blue crystal. It was very beautiful. As the seal floated in the air, they could even see through the light barrier that the bottom of the seal was engraved with dense lines. These lines interweaved together, resembling a map. Lu Ming and Ling Yue's eyes lit up. Could it be that the seal really contained clues to the 9 Soul Palaces, and that the bottom of the seal was a map to the 9 Soul Palaces? The 9 seals corresponded to the 9 Soul Palaces? The more he thought about it, the more likely it seemed. Make your move. Ling Yue said somewhat impatiently. Then the 3 of them attacked at the same time. Divine light burst forth and turned into terrifying attacks that attacked the light barrier. The light shield shook violently, but it did not break. However, they could clearly feel that as they attacked, the energy of the light barrier was constantly being depleted, and its power was constantly weakening. As long as they could continue to weaken and maintain it for a period of time, they would definitely be able to break it. The 3 of them did not stop attacking. After half an hour, the light barrier had already become dim. Gotcha. In the end, the sound of porcelain shattering came from the light barrier. Then, with a bang, it exploded and turned into specks of light that dissipated. The eyes of the 3 flashed, and almost at the same time, they reached out to grab the blue seal. However, when they grabbed the seal at the same time, they grabbed empty air. The seal was like a phantom. It could be seen but not grasped. The expressions of the 3 of them immediately turned ugly. Fake. Ling Yue frowned. It seems that it really is fake. It's just a projection, not a real body. Lu Ming said. There are a total of 9 seals. They might not all be fake. Let's go take a look at the next one. Xiao Wuji suggested. Sure, but let's make it clear first. No one can think of taking the seal for themselves. Otherwise, don't blame me for being impolite. Ling Yue said. Of course. Lu Ming and Xiao Wuji nodded. Then the 3 of them came to the next platform and saw a fiery red seal. The seal was also enveloped by a layer of light barrier. The 3 of them still attacked together. After half an hour, they broke through the light barrier. However, the seal was still not a real body. It was still a projection. This time, the 3 of them looked a little ugly. Could it be that the 9 seals were all phantoms and not real bodies? The 3 of them were naturally unwilling. How could they be satisfied if they did not open all of them? However, after breaking through 2 seals in a row, the 3 of them had exhausted a lot of energy and needed to recover. Lu Ming was still fine. The taboo body was distributed in 60 trillion cells. As long as the taboo power was still there, it would be difficult for him to get tired. However, he also had to pretend, so he took out a few divine pills and swallowed them. After all, his cells had to store potential. Ling Yue and Xiao Wuji also took out divine pills and refined them to recover. A few hours later, Ling Yue and Xiao Wuji had recovered to their peak state. Lu Ming also pretended to get up. The 3 of them continued to attack the light barrier outside the next seal. However, after breaking through, it was still a phantom. The 3 of them were unwilling to give up and continued to attack. The 4th seal was still a phantom. The 3 of them recovered and continued to attack. However, when they broke through the 5th seal, they finally had a great harvest. The 5th seal was a snow-white seal. This one was not a phantom, but a real one. The 3 of them were ecstatic. Xiao Wuji took the lead and held the seal in his hand, carefully examining it. The surface of the seal was carved with snow-white patterns. Most importantly, it was filled with mysterious lines that intertwined together. It looked like a map. Input your divine power and take a look, Ling Yue said expectantly. Xiao Wuji nodded and inserted his divine power into the snow-white seal. Suddenly the seal glowed, especially the lines at the bottom of the seal. They actually wriggled and flew out from the bottom of the seal. They floated in the air and then combined in a mysterious pattern to form a map. It really is a map. The three of their eyes lit up. They were overjoyed. If I'm not wrong, this map should be the map to Bing Shen's Life Spirit Palace. Xiao Wuji could not hide the excitement on his face. How about you leave this seal to me for safekeeping for now? Don't worry, I can swear on my life source that I will not take it for myself, Xiao Wuji said. Lu Ming and Ling Yue pondered for a moment and nodded. In any case, they had already memorized the map. Xiao Wuji took out a storage ring and put away the snow-white seal. Then they continued to attack the remaining seals. Unfortunately, when they broke through the remaining 4 seals, they did not gain anything. The remaining 4 seals were all phantoms. Chapter 38:56. In the end, only one of the 9 seals was real. The other 8 were all illusions. Looks like there's only one clue to the Life Spirit Hall here. The other 8 Life Spirit Halls need to be obtained through other channels, Lu Ming said. Even if there's only one clue, it's still worth it. As long as there are treasures left behind in Bing Shen's Life Spirit Hall, they're definitely very shocking. It's definitely not something this place can compare to, Xiao Wuji said with a fiery gaze. Let's go and see if there are any treasures in the other passageways. If there aren't any, we'll leave this place as soon as possible and explore Bing Shen's Life Spirit Hall, Ling Yue said. Immediately they explored the other passageways. However, they had almost explored all of these passageways, so they didn't gain much. Then they left this place. As soon as they left the door, they found that there were almost no living people outside. Corpses were lying everywhere. They were all experts of the Lingheng sect. As for the remaining experts of the Lingheng sect, they had probably fought with those strange creatures in other places. However, there were many storage rings left underground. The 3 of them naturally wouldn't miss them. In a flash, they put away the storage rings here and flew towards the exit. After flying for a distance, a miserable scream rang out. The 3 of them saw a middle-aged man being torn apart alive by a group of strange creatures. However, those strange creatures didn't seem to see Lu Ming and the other 2 and rushed past them. The 3 of them knew that this was due to the Life Spirit Origin Stone fragments. They increased their speed. Along the way, they could see those strange creatures attacking others from time to time. This world had already become a purgatory. Why aren't they attacked by those strange creatures? They must have treasures on them that can deter those strange creatures. Snatch them, only then can we survive. Not far away, a group of people flew past. These people all had bloodstains on their bodies. All of them were injured. There were 15 of them. They had also come in to hunt soul beasts, but they were attacked by the strange creatures. There were originally more than 20 people, but only 15 people were left. It was not easy for them to break out of the encirclement. As they flew, they discovered that Lu Ming and the other 2 weren't attacked by the strange creatures. They immediately guessed that Lu Ming must have some kind of treasure on him that could deter the strange creatures. There was still quite a distance to the exit. And now, this evil spirit realm was filled with strange creatures. With their strength, it would be very difficult for them to successfully reach the exit. However, with Lu Ming's treasures, reaching the exit would be a piece of cake. Thinking of this, a cold, killing intent flashed in their hearts. They immediately flew towards the 3 of them, blocking the path of Lu Ming's group. Everyone, what is the meaning of this? Ling Yue said with a frown. What do you mean? Do you have any treasures that can deter those strange creatures? Hand them over. A red-skinned man shouted. That's right. We do have a treasure that can deter strange creatures, but it's not something you can have. Hurry up and get lost. If you don't, I don't mind keeping you here. This time it was Xiao Wuji who spoke. The Azura clan was a clan that killed people. These people dared to attack him, they were simply courting death. A mere quasi-emperor, you're quite arrogant. Let's see how you're going to keep us here, shouted the red-skinned man coldly. He held a blood-red axe in his hand and swung it at Xiao Wuji's head. That red-skinned man had the strength of the first godly emperor layer. No wonder he didn't put Xiao Wuji in his eyes. However, his axe only chopped down halfway before it stopped. This was because a ray of black light shot out from Xiao Wuji's hand and pierced through the red-skinned man's forehead. The red-skinned man's eyes were wide open. He had died. What? The other 14 people were astonished. They hadn't thought that a quasi-emperor would be able to kill a godly emperor so easily. He's a monster. Let's attack together, shouted the others. The remaining 14 people attacked together. A dozen attacks moved towards Lu Ming and the other two. One of them was a cultivator of the second godly emperor layer. His attacks were terrifying. You want to die, shouted Lu Ming. Chiu Chiu turned into a silver spear. He raised his spear and broke through the attacks, moving towards the cultivator of the second godly emperor layer. It was unbelievably fast. It looked like a silver lightning bolt. The cultivator of the second godly emperor layer was instantly killed. The spear pierced through his forehead. At the same time, Xiao Wuji and Ling Yue attacked. The remaining people couldn't withstand a single attack. In the blink of an eye, only a few of them were left. Run! The remaining people were scared out of their wits. They started running away madly. You want to leave now? It's too late. Xiao Wuji snorted coldly, his killing intent chilling. A vertical eye appeared between his brows, emitting rays of azure light. The remaining people were swept by the azure light and died on the spot. A bunch of idiots, said Xiao Wuji coldly. Lu Ming and Ling Yue didn't say anything. The three of them continued flying towards the exit. After that, they didn't encounter any accidents. Soon the three of them arrived at the exit. At the exit, many people were flying towards it in fear. Lu Ming blended into the crowd and flew out of the exit. Outside the exit, there were people from the Lingheng sect guarding it. However, the Lingheng sect was already in chaos. The Lingheng sect patriarch and many other higher-ups had died in the evil spirit world. No one cared about Lu Ming and the other two. The three of them easily left the Lingheng sect's territory. On a remote planet, the three of them stopped and started studying the map on the Big Seal. The map was very complicated. They often had to use other maps to compare and analyze them to find the specific location. After studying for a while, the three of them finally found the specific location. It's actually in the Chaotic Devil Starfield. Ling Yue frowned. The Chaotic Devil Starfield? Where is it? Asked Lu Ming. The Chaotic Devil Starfield is a special starfield. It's close to the demon race. It's very chaotic. There are many big and small forces attacking each other. There are even many interstellar pirates who have nests there. Ling Yue explained. It's close to the demon race. Does the demon race not care? Lu Ming asked. The demon race was one of the top 10 races and was incomparably powerful. Beside the demon race, there was actually such a chaotic starfield that the demon race didn't care about? It said that the demon race deliberately didn't care and let Fang Zhan go. This is because the demon race would often send geniuses to the Chaotic Devil Starfield to train. Obviously, the demon race treated the Chaotic Devil Starfield as a training ground for the geniuses of the demon race. Ling Yue said. The demon race was the same as the Azura race. They were also very bloodthirsty. Their cultivation was very cruel and they had to experience all kinds of terrifying tempering. Chapter 3857. Then let's go, Ling Yue said. After confirming the address, the three of them did not delay and headed toward the Chaotic Devil Starfield. The Chaotic Devil Starfield was very far away from here. Even with the wormhole, it would take a few months. A few months later, the three of them finally arrived at the Chaotic Devil Starfield. Kill? They had just entered the Chaotic Devil Starfield when they heard intense shouts. In the starry sky, two groups of people fought fiercely, and people were killed from time to time. These people were from the human race and other races. They all had one thing in common, which was that they all cultivated demonic arts. Their demonic chi surged into the sky, and their auras were incomparably violent. There was no lack of divine emperor experts among them. Lu Ming and the other two took a detour. The Chaotic Devil Starfield was full of chaos and killing. Sometimes there was no need for a reason to make a move. It was better for them not to cause trouble. According to the map, the entrance to the mysterious Ice Life Soul Palace was located in the center of the Chaotic Devil Starfield. The three of them had to cross more than half of the Chaotic Devil Starfield. However, the three of them kept a low profile and specifically went to remote places. They did not encounter any danger. A few days later, they approached their destination without any danger. Their destination was a planet with life called the Ice Demon Star. However, when they approached the Ice Demon Star, they were dumbfounded. An intense battle was happening on the Ice Demon Star. The Ice Demon Star was filled with dazzling brilliance. That was the activation of a great formation. The Great Defensive Array formed a huge light shield that enveloped the entire planet. Outside the planet, there was a dense crowd of experts. Moreover, the experts were divided into many different forces, surrounding and attacking the Ice Demon Star. A large number of forces were joining forces to attack the Ice Demon Star. Lu Ming and the other two were speechless. What was going on? Their luck was too bad. They just happened to encounter many forces of the chaotic devil starfield attacking the Ice Demon Star? This was too much of a coincidence. I'll say it again. Our Ice Demon sect does not have the entrance to the mysterious Ice Life Soul Palace. We don't know either. A loud roar came from the Ice Demon Star. Humph, whether there is or not, let us search and we will know. Outside the Ice Demon Star, an expert snorted. If I let you search, will my Ice Demon Star still exist? I'm afraid it will be destroyed by you. Within the Ice Demon Star, the voice from before rang out again. Humph, you don't have a choice. If you want to defend the Ice Demon Star to the death, then I can only destroy you and the Ice Demon Star together. An expert outside said coldly. In the distance, Lu Ming and the other two were dumbstruck. What was going on? How did these people know about Bing Shen's Life Spirit Palace? And he knew that the Ice Demon Star had the entrance to the Ice Shen Life Soul Palace? How was this possible? Only the three of them knew about this. Someone among them had leaked the news. The eyes of Lu Ming and the other two suddenly shone brightly as they looked at each other. Who leaked the news? Ling Yuwei's gaze swept over Xiao Wuji and Lu Ming, a cold light flashing in her eyes. Are you doubting me? What reason do I have to leak the information? Xiao Wuji said with a solemn expression. Who knows? Who knows what ulterior motives you have? I've long felt that something was wrong with you. Ling Yuwei sneered, and the aura on her body became cold. Relatively speaking, Ling Yuwei trusted Lu Ming more. This was because she was the one who had taken the initiative to find and cooperate with Lu Ming. As for Xiao Wuji, he had appeared halfway. He was unfathomable and extremely scheming. Lu Ming's gaze also looked at Xiao Wuji, a cold light flashing in his eyes. It seems like you don't believe me. Xiao Wuji sneered. Lu Ming and Ling Yuwei did not say anything. Obviously they did not believe in Xiao Wuji. However, Lu Ming and Ling Yuwei did not completely trust each other. Ling Yuwei felt that the one who leaked the news was not Lu Ming. Lu Ming also felt that it was not impossible for Ling Yuwei to be the one who leaked the news. It was possible for any one of them to do so. However, what was the purpose of the leak? What benefits would it bring to the person who leaked the news of Bing Shen's Life Soul Palace? From the looks of it, it was obvious that many people in the Devil Chaos Starfield knew about it. This was because among these people, some of them were extremely powerful, and some of them were not inferior to the sect master of the Spirit Heng sect. With so many experts entering Bing Shen's Life Soul Palace, the difficulty of obtaining the treasures would increase exponentially. What benefits would it bring to the person who leaked the news? Lu Ming could not figure it out. In any case, he knew that the person who leaked the news was definitely not him. Ice Demon Sect, since you refuse a toast, then let's destroy it. Everyone, let's attack together with all our might. First, we'll destroy the Ice Demon Sect, and then find the entrance to Bing Shen's Life Soul Palace. Outside, someone roared. All right, let's attack together. Don't hide your strength. Cold shouts rang out. Following that, a terrifying aura rose up. Following that, a terrifying attack blasted towards the Ice Demon Star. The attacks were densely packed. It was unknown how many attacks blasted towards the Ice Demon Star. A small half of them were in the Divine Emperor realm. Activate the formation with all your might. Block it with all your might. A loud roar came from the Ice Demon Star. All over the huge planet, all the Ice Demon Sect disciples were controlling the formation with all their might. The planet's formation was fully activated, emitting a dazzling radiance. However, when the attacks from the outside landed on the Grand Formation, the Grand Formation shook violently. Numerous cracks appeared on its surface, and in the next instant the Grand Formation collapsed. Bam! Bam! On the Ice Demon Star, countless Ice Demon Sect disciples' bodies exploded. Their bodies and souls were destroyed. Retreat, retreat! In the Ice Demon Star, someone roared, calling for the remaining people to retreat. After all, there were too many experts this time. Their planet's defensive formation had already been breached, and they could no longer fight. I gave you a chance just now, but you didn't leave. Now you want to leave? It's too late. You've wasted my strength and you still want to leave? All of you die. The experts of the chaotic devil starfield outside were incomparably violent. Their killing intent soared to the sky. Wave after wave of attacks blasted towards the Ice Demon Star. Boom, boom. At this moment, the Ice Demon Star had turned into a purgatory. Regardless of their cultivation level, they exploded and turned into ashes under the terrifying power. The frenzied bombardment lasted for a while. The Ice Demon Star, which was originally filled with vitality, had turned into a purgatory. Countless living beings were obliterated. There weren't many living beings left. Charge. Following that, the forces outside rushed towards the Ice Demon Star, looking for the entrance to Bing Shen's Life Spirit Palace. This time, the news of Bing Shen's Life Spirit Palace had suddenly spread across the chaotic Devil Starfield. It had shocked countless experts in the chaotic Devil Starfield. All the forces in the chaotic Devil Starfield were alarmed and rushed towards the Ice Demon Star. Those were the 9 Life Spirit Palaces under the Life Spirit Heavenly Court. The temptation was too great. The Life Spirit Heavenly Court was an existence that could challenge the Heavenly Palace. How many treasures would there be in the 9 Life Spirit Palaces left behind?